high above people and figure out what their plans are for reintroducing people to the rooms. Um, and I'll let you guys know hopefully in a week. But I have no idea what other people are going to do with their classes.
Okay.
But
It is.
if it's a class that's part of the game program, it's workforce. Unless you're taking an
Okay.
algebra, a science, or something like that, which they did say were academics, which definitely start on October the 4th. Because remember, I can imagine them trying to do some kind of like staggered intro thing where, like, instead of having the entire student body there, they have half of it because the workforce people aren't there. It's just the academic people. And I think that's where a lot of their money comes from, too, because those people are going to other colleges. You know what I mean? And they're using HCC to transfer credits.
Okay.
Because there's some
I
people
see.
that come to HCC and do the 2 years, their sophomore and freshman year of college at HCC, and then they use HCC to transfer those credits over.
This is getting off tangent.
Do what?
Oh, this is getting into tangent. Like, let's start class.
Yeah, 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 definitely. We're going to go ahead and start class. Okay, so the changes that we see up here is going to be, let's see, have I made that
Excuse me,
available?
Professor.
Yes, sir.
Have you graded the lab two checklist?
No, I haven't graded anything at this point.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
just want to know because I'm
because
still.
but where I'm expecting things to come in is here
Dear
on a.
Professor, I don't know why my computer's giving me an issue to access Zoom. I'm using my phone to do it.
Okay, so your computer's not doesn't like Zoom today.
I don't know why.
Okay, did you do an update at any point between now and last class?
I don't know if there was an update.
Not for Zoom. I'm saying, like, did you do update to your computer in general? Did it do an update on its own?
No. Wait. I'm back on. I'm back on. Hang on.
Okay. Well, I'll let you back in if I see you pop in again. Okay.
No.
Let's go back to course. So for people that are turning in projects, remember that you're uploading a video to a video hosting website, whether that be YouTube or whether that be Screencast, from the links that I've provided you, and then you're going to create a URL or copy the URL to where your video is. Generally, that would be in YouTube. You just go up to where your URL is, and you would click on it and right click and copy, and then put that in an email and say, as the header, Lab 1 finished. And then you drop that link into the email. And then that's how I would be able to go back and check. But at this point, I don't see any. Okay, we're getting an echo from somebody. All right. So that's what you would do is you would create that link, drop it in an email, and then from there send it to me through the Canvas system, so I'd be able to check it. All right. So we'll go back to dashboard, and there we go. Okay. So according to the syllabus, on Monday, which was Labor Day, which I did not pay attention to when I was creating my syllabus. So there we go on the 6th. We should have assigned groups for the video game project. We should have looked at Project 1, which was the video game, the pitch for it, basically the paperwork that I'm going to give you for Project 1, so you know what Project 1 is and what you're going to be graded on. And then we should have watched, or I should have given 3 lectures. One which is what is a game proposal or a pitch and concept. The other which is what are team member roles and responsibilities. And from there, what is a production cycle? What are you expected to, how should the progression of making the game look like? First you do this, then you do this, and then you do this, right? And I think when we left off last time on last Wednesday, we were just getting into the meat and potatoes of Lab 3. We're about halfway through. So we still needed to do the visibility mask, so then that way you can punch a hole through the landscape. That would then give you the ability to create a tunnel system or a cave. And we were going to decorate both, so I was going to do a tunnel system and then create a cave. And then the last part of that lab is doing what's called an ocean landscape, and that would be using what are called our volumes. So we would be using
Yeah, I'm
a
back online.
Okay, fantastic. A post-processing volume, right? So that's what we still need to do in Lab 3. So what I want to do today is I want to go ahead and assign the groups, introduce Project 1. We might go through Lecture 1 and maybe the second lecture, and then hopefully at about halfway through, if this doesn't take too long, we'll be able to go through Lab 3 and get that done today as well during the second half of the class. So to assign groups, let's see, let's go to People and Groups, Group Set. Let's see. Oh, I guess I gotta set groups. Group set name. Nope. Groups of. Okay, so this is gonna be caps lock key. All right. So we're going to do new group. Not group, but group 1. Let's see how many groups we need. We have 16 students. Let's do 4 groups of 4. That'll be good. That way everybody's on an even footing, or at least starts off with the same number of people in their group. So let's do group, because I've had some semesters.
Cat, sir.
What's that?
I'm not your cat. You paused your cat.
My cat paused?
Yeah, it did that. I don't know.
Oh. Sometimes depending on where the camera is and where I am in the room, because I'm on a wireless mic, so I can move around because I have like 2 or 3 keyboards, 2 or 3 mice that are in front of me, and because I'm typing on this computer, it's on the keyboard that wasn't pointing in front of the camera. So that may have been what happened. My cat went to one of the sides, and because it couldn't track me anymore, it stopped. All right, so we have 4 groups. Now, the roles that we're going to eventually talk about in the lecture is going to be the production manager. So that's sort of the, I wouldn't say the boss, but the person most responsible for the leadership of the group. So I'll need at least 4 people that are interested in doing something like that. Now, the thing about that position is, and remember that when we do this project, everybody's going to be working on their own level. So you'll be working on your level, the other person will be working on their level. You'll be able to share information, like maybe somebody finds a good mat, somebody else finds a good a static mesh for something, right? And they'll send it to you and you'll send it to them, right? So that kind of coordination between the groups, and then the stylistic approach, what you intend your project to be and all that, will also be decided by the group. So if the group decides that they want to do a hacker slasher game, and or somebody wants to create something, like I had a group last semester that created a Pac-Man style game, right? Where they created a maze, they created the little pellets, and they had people, you know, they were being chased around by one of, you know, things that look like ghosts. One of them went into paintbrush, or I think it's paintbrush, sculpt brush or something, and 3D brush, and used that to create a goblin-looking ghost thing. They threw a transparent material over the outside, made its eyes separate so they'd glow. Anyways, it looked really cool. But, you know, those sorts of things. So that character was decided between the group. They all decided what it was going to look like. Somebody made it. Somebody else found the material for it. So it was all a collaboration. And then that character was in everybody's level, right? So the job of the production manager is to keep things on schedule, to make sure that everybody in the group is pulling their weight, that everybody doesn't get, the other thing is to also make sure that people don't get stuck, that they're trying to do something and they're so razor focused on getting that thing done that they're not getting the rest of their level done. So you need to like redirect them and do something like that. Now beyond that, we also have the other two main jobs, which would be the artist and the programmer, right? So the artist will be responsible for looking for static meshes, what the game, maybe the level design of the thing, right? So that would be another job, level designer. So if we've got 4 people, we have a group leader or manager, a time manager, a project manager. We have the artist, who will be responsible for the way the game looks and make sure that everybody has the same material, and that if it's a spooky horror game, it has that look and it looks the same, that everybody's using the same stuff. From there, the programmer would be the third job. That job would be, you'd be the most responsible for looking for code, researching code, seeing if you can't make like a working copy of it, so then that way you can show it, what you did, to the other members in the group, and then they can incorporate that code into their level, right? And then the fourth thing would be the level designer. Where are things going to be? How big are the levels going to be? Considerations for that person would be asking what each person in the group has as far as equipment. Can you make a big level? Are you able to make a small level? Like where are you? What are your restrictions? And then sort of design or help them design a level for that. So for example, if I was in a group and I was the group leader, maybe what I would do is say that we're going to make a horror action game, a horror game, right? And so level 1 will start outside a castle. So maybe I'll go to the group member that has the biggest computer at that point and say, hey, I need you to work on this level. So then that we can utilize your computer's processing power to have more space for that. Somebody will then design maybe the second person with the most powerful computer will do the outside of the castle, right? So they'll create the courtyard area, and then what would look like the castle going up, but they don't have to do the inside of the castle. That'll then be given to somebody else that has maybe less power on their computers, and maybe they can do the inside area that has the staircase or whatever that then leads off to the different rooms. And then the person with the smallest computer will then do the rooms, right? They'll have level 1 or room 1, room 2, room 3, room 4. Each one of those will have their own objects in there, whatever the things is that you needed to, or however you're going to break it up, right? And then so there's the 4 tasks, right? So since we have 16 members or 16 people here in class, we're going to break you guys up into those 4 groups. Now, do I have anybody that would like to be the role of the group leader or the manager, the project manager?
I wouldn't mind being one, but I feel like I could also be a great level designer.
Now, everybody's going to do it. You're all going to share in it. It's just you're going to be
Right.
ultimately the one responsible for making sure that the group stays on track.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind being group leader.
Okay, so
I wouldn't mind being one, but
Okay.
let's say if I decide not to want to be one again, want to be one in the future,
well, that's
could
here's
I?
now. Yeah. So what I would say is this, to answer your point, is if there's something like let's say myself, I feel like I would be a better artist than a programmer, right? But this is class, so you get a chance to be the programmer without it really affecting any real project that you might work on in the future when you get out, right? So you could look at it and have a really great experience and go, oh my god, I can actually do this. You know what I mean? And because you tried it in
Right.
class. So what I would do is I would look at those 4 roles and go, I want to make video games, but it also seems really interesting for me to, I like, maybe I've been a manager before, I worked as a manager at a business somewhere, and I know how to get people whipped up into shape and get them like excited about a project and get everybody to make sure they stay on time and that everybody knows what
Right.
their roles are.
But
Go ahead.
I'm more of a brainstormer and a thinker than a doer. You hear me?
Right. Here, what we're doing here is we're just putting on a hat and doing pretend and saying I'm this. Right.
Mhm.
Obviously, there's people that are in this class for the first time that have maybe never programmed before or messed with blueprints, and they have no idea what they're going to, be responsible for. And I'm not saying that you are completely responsible for everything. I will be giving you, in the form of the labs, all the
Mhm.
information that you need to be able to make the game. So if for whatever reason, the team ends up with nobody that can really program well, you at least have the code that I will be giving you to be able to make the game work. And then from there, I've had some teams that were, and I try to avoid this, but all artists, because there seems to be sometimes more artists than programmers. So I try to put a programmer in each team. Sometimes I end up with 2 programmers in one team and 1 artist. Sometimes I end up with a whole team of artists and 1
Right.
project designer. So it's interesting to see what happens to the groups. Not every group succeeds ultimately. Some projects end up, there's some groups that solidify. They get really good at what they're doing. They show up for their meetings. They're all on time. They're all doing their due diligence, and that team really works. And then you get a really neat project. And then you see where other groups have maybe not solidified as well, and the project suffers from that. And that's okay, because failure is a great teacher, right? So if you fail here, that's okay. It's a grade. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
not money. It's not your reputation. It's a classroom where you're getting a chance to experiment, right? With these things. So if you feel like you'd be a good manager and you want to give it a shot, then definitely. Now I had a couple of people that said yes. The names were kind of far away because I've got that on in Zoom, and it was on the other screen. That was so. Who give me first person who wanted to be a manager?
I did.
Okay, that's Fernando.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna put Fernando in group 1. 3 more manager slots for anybody that wants to do it. Project managers.
I might be part of group 1.
Okay, is that Hamid?
Yes.
Okay. let
So-
me
Can we
find you.
pick our groups?
No, I'm picking your groups.
Okay, fair enough. It's worth asking the question.
Yeah, no, that's actually what's happening right now.
Because, like what my other classmates said, I'm more of a strategist too. 'Cause
Okay.
I'm a strategist. I
Well,
just
that's
don't
good.
have
I mean,
any-
you'll get a chance to do it. Like I actually got to stretch my legs when I was in film school, because everybody had to, you had to have somebody that was the the director is the person who deals with the talent, with the artist, but then you had basically what's called the producer, or the executive. So the executive producer is the guy who gives the money. The producer is the person who's actually in charge of the project and make sure that all the different pieces work. The director is the person who deals with basically working with the talent, and then you have on the other side the crew that deals with making sure that the stage and all that other stuff. So there's different hats that are worn. Film is definitely something that you cannot do on your own. It's impossible.
But is it possible to do all that at the same time? Be every last one of them?
Yes.
You can be in gaming, yes. And in gaming, you can be an artist, you can be the programmer, you can be the person that's putting your project out. The problem is you have absolutely no time, and your life is set. You're sitting in front of the computer. The advantage of having other people that work with your group is that you have other brains, other talents, other people trying to solve the problem. And maybe where you might get stuck and spend 3 months trying to learn something so that you can then apply that to your project and make it part of your game, somebody else might already know how to do that, and it takes them three days to figure out how to make it work in your project, right? So the advantage of working in groups is definitely there. Group leader for 3. Does anybody want to do that? Decory? Were you putting your
Yes, I
oh,
do
you
it.
were putting
I
your hat
do
in the
it.
ring?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll put you in there for group 3 leader. And one last group leader or project manager.
I might do it, but I have a question real quick.
Sure.
I put it in the chat earlier.
Oh, sorry.
What if you're like not that confident if you're making like a specific position right now? What if you're not that confident
That's okay.
in
That's
knowing how to do it?
that's the whole point. Is we get to that's what school
Learning.
is you're getting a chance to try it out.
Okay.
Right? So if you were interested in it, or if you feel like you might be a good leader and, pump your group up, make sure that everybody's doing their work, and you want to take on that extra responsibility as the group leader for the, group leader for the group. That sounds weird, but yeah.
Well,
project
whoever
manager.
that's gonna be in my group, I want to do like a Naruto and Sasuke type thing. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Like,
here's
we
the
both
thing.
hand in hand.
Again, I'm going to be picking the groups. So,
Okay.
yeah. So, Douglas, were you saying you wanted to be a group leader for him?
Yeah, in that case, I can be group leader.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so let me
What
open
who's
up.
in leader of group Ron?
So I'm opening those up now so that you can see it. And let's see, how was it that oh yeah, set as leader, set as leader, set as leader, set as leader. All right, neat. People who wanted to try their hand at programming or felt like they really wanted to focus on that more than anything else. Do I have any takers for that for, let's say, group 1?
I'll do it.
Who is that?
Maximus.
Maximus. Okay. So we'll put you in there. Now there is no title for for programmer there. Just you're going to be part of that group. So
It's okay.
group
It'll
2.
be an honorary title.
There you go. Well, when we do the paperwork, that'll be what's in your bio. It'll say you're the artist.
Wait, is this for artist or programmer?
Yeah, you
I'm
said
sorry,
programmer.
My bad.
You said programmer. Okay.
Yes, it is programmer. So group
Alright,
2
cool.
programmer.
Welcome, Maximus.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to be here.
All right. So takers for programmer for group 2. Okay. Who else wants to be a programmer? Just raise your hand. Say I.
I'm
Okay.
a programmer.
But
in
you
group
can't. You
2.
can't. You can't be the programmer.
Was she
and
already
the-
the group leader?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And I can't be group leader and programmer at the same time. I know that's
No, you
impossible.
can work on it. I'm not saying, dude, guys, you will have your own level. You will be working on your own stuff. What I'm saying is when we create our paperwork, there's usually hats that are assigned to different people. So what'll happen is you'll be in the documentation for your group project as the programmer. And while other people are trying to figure out how to maybe make a, maybe you want to create, there was a group last semester that created an invisibility thing in their character, right? That made their character go invisible. So the person that was the programmer figured out how to do the code for it, and then the other person looked for the skin that they needed to make that character look like they went invisible. You see what I'm saying? So everybody's going to help each other out. But if you're, and then the group leader goes, okay, this is our first meeting. This is what we're going to do. You need to go and figure out how to make something invisible. You come back in next week. You figure out that person's having a problem figuring out how to do it. And so then you would work with that person, or, maybe you get somebody else who's not doing anything currently to help you guys. You see what I'm saying? You're going to pull your resources together to figure out how to get the whole thing done. The programmer isn't purely responsible for the code, and if they can't get it to work, well, that's not how a group works, right?
Yeah, that's basically a role of a group leader.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is that the group leader would get involved because you would see that the person programming is having a problem, and then you would help them. You would offer your time. You would offer others. You would make it known, hey, we need to figure out how to do this, or we can't have it as part of what our game is going to be able to do because we're spending too much time on it. You see what I'm saying? Eventually, we're going to realize that there are things called red lines, and there are dates, and those dates are fixed. Like, what was it? First walkthrough, code freeze, those sorts of things. So we'll see that in a second. But right now, I just want to see the people that are interested in doing. I need 3 people to raise their hand and say, I want to be a programmer. Nobody in my class wants to be a programmer except for Maximus. All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I thought that would be the most requested role, but I guess
Oh
not.
my
It's
God.
the
I'll give it a try.
I will okay, who said that?
Silvano?
Silvano. Okay, cool. So we will
Yeah.
So
I wanted
that's-
to be the others, but I'll try anyway.
It doesn't mean that you can't do the other stuff, guys.
Oh yeah, sure. But
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm just saying that, you know, you'd be more
Yeah,
focused on trying to get code done.
mhm.
All right, so just for fun, we'll throw you in this group just to kind of
all right.
do like a shuffle there. Who else wants to do a programming?
What does the programmer do again?
You're going to spend more time trying to figure out code than anybody else in your group. So you're going to get the first whack at it.
Yeah, no.
That's it. Brian?
Yeah, I don't think
And that's really where the money is.
Nobody doesn't want to be a programmer. Oh my goodness.
Okay. All right. Well, let me ask you this: who wants to be? We'll see who's left over. Who wants to be an artist?
What
Me.
does artist
Me?
do?
Who said me?
Christian.
Excited?
Christian? Okay. So we'll throw you in group 2. So now group 2. Wow, I'm gonna have to remember that. Okay. So artist, and then who else wants to be an artist?
What does artist do again?
You're going to try to, as much as possible, to keep the aesthetics in the game.
Yeah.
Oh,
so you just
okay.
want to come
You
up with
still
the
can create, right?
You're going to create your own level, and you're going to still be responsible for your own code, but you will be, as the group, like let's
the
say
rules and
you're going to be making your own level, but you will also be doing research on, you know, or looking for specifically static meshes, materials, different things, different skins that you're going to put on your characters. What are your characters going to look like? Those sorts of things.
Oh, okay. I could be an artist.
Okay, who said that? Mr.
James.
James. All right, so. Whoa. Come on now. All right, group 1's almost there. Who else wants to be an artist?
Me? Me?
Okay. We'll put you down there in group 4. All right, so that means that I still need one more artist for group 3. Yeah.
I can try being an artist.
Okay, thank you. Who said that?
Angel.
Angel. All right. All right. So, level designers.
Now, is the level designer pretty much like, what's the word I'm looking for?
You're going to be deciding what the environment looks like, whether it's daytime, nighttime, whether you're in a spooky castle, whether you're doing a cave, what needs to be in the cave, what kind of things you want to see. Okay. So as we go through the labs, right now we're doing environments, right? We're setting up the environments, but we will eventually get to a point where we're showing you how to set up evil, you know, like enemy characters, and then how to be able to create your own characters. And then the last bit before we get into menus and exporting the game is going back into the level and doing things like platforms that move up and down, or doors that open and close, or hidden, you know, passageways. And you will decide, hey, I want to set up a tunnel system in this in this level, because I need this level to connect to that level this way. You see what I'm saying? So you will be in the group going, oh, it sounds really great if you're putting a tunnel system in your game in level 1, but I don't have a place in level 2 for the person who's creating level 2 for that tunnel system to come in. So level 2 guy, you need to now put somewhere in your game the continuity of how they're going to come in from level 1, right? Do you see what I'm saying? So you will be helping design. Imagine that somebody gave you a bunch of Legos and said, hey, make a house, and like the trees and the stuff around it, like pretty much what we've been doing in level 1 or in labs 1 through 4, and then what we'll get back to when we get in labs 8 and 9 that you guys haven't seen yet, because we haven't talked about collision settings yet, which is why I can't show you that stuff until we do the enemy characters first. But level design is fun. So, if I have no other people that want to auto-assign themselves to anything, I'm just going to randomly throw people in. And then you guys can fight amongst yourselves as to who wants to do what. But team leaders was the most important thing. That's what I wanted to get first.
Is it possible I can switch to programmer?
Inside your own group, you can do whatever you want. But once you've started writing out your paperwork and you've committed to whatever role is in your group, you can do whatever you want. I was just trying to see if I could, because what I'm trying to avoid is putting 4 people that want to be artists in a group together and then not having a programmer, and then putting 4 programmers together in one group and then not having an artist. Do you see what I'm saying? Or putting a group together that has no leader. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm trying to avoid by asking you guys what you would like to do and what you're more interested in doing. It's either I'm interested in the art, or I'm interested in programming, or I'm interested in leading, right? And then level design is a little bit of everything. You have to be an artist, you have to be a little bit of a programmer, and not that you have to lead, but you also have to say, hey, we need these things in everybody's level so we can have some continuity between the levels of the game.
I see.
Right?
I know how to do all of it.
And eventually we will. Hopefully everybody, because everybody will be working on their own level. So if nobody else wants to sort of say, hey, I always was more interested in doing programming than designing characters, then that's what I would do. Otherwise, I'm just going to grab everybody who's left and throw them randomly into a team. And then you guys can figure out who wants to be what, but I at least have my leaders.
I would try to be a level designer.
Okay. So
You do have a good amount of RAM, so.
So let's stick you in there on that group.
How did you get all that RAM?
He bought it. He went out and bought it.
Not supposed to tell anyone.
He got a ship. That's alien tech. He got
Fernando,
ship.
aren't you the one with 128 RAM?
Yeah, but I'm saying at least he's got somebody else who's got a lot of
That's a lot of RAM.
You're not supposed to tell them, Fernando. Jesus, man.
Sorry, bud. I wish you were my group, but good luck.
It's the alien tech.
Okay.
I wish you.
So groups are now there. They have
All right,
been,
welcome, Caesar.
They have been assigned now. And
who's the leader in group 4?
so the leader will always have the little person next to them.
Oh,
You see right there?
because I cannot see it.
Yeah. Oh, it might not be showing up on your screen, but if you go to Canvas on your own computer, you'd see it crystal clear, and it shows up with a little person in front of it. Okay, yay, groups.
Yay.
Wow, that
Can
was.
I verify? James, you're an artist. Max, you're a programmer.
Guys, we don't have time to do that in class. We still got.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. What we're actually going to do is we're going to go now to Project 1 so that I can introduce the project, give you guys a heads up, and then when you guys leave class, you'll communicate with you guys with yourselves then and figure out what you guys want to do. All right, so we're going to go back to home. We're going to go back to Project 1, and we're going to click on the document for Project 1. So this is. Okay, I got the fall right, yay, and we've got the dates right. So today is Wednesday, September the 9th. This is the 8th. Whoops, I'll have to go back and change that. But it's the 8th, and we're assigning the project today. It'll be due October the 11th, which does match with what I have in the syllabus. So, okay, so the project plot summary. The idea here is that I'm sort of creating like a little story for you guys to kind of, give you a reason for putting yourself into these groups. So ever since you were a small child, you've always wanted to create your own video games. Recently, you've joined a community college in your hometown where you're taking video game production classes. Sounds like us. A friend of yours in class has informed you that a large video game company developer, i.e. me, is holding a game development contest, and the top prize is a 1-year third-party development deal to distribute your game on their platform, which is really cool. Your friend says that they are looking for a good 2D artist, 3D artist, programmer, level designer, or project manager to join their team. Impulsively, you agree to join. Yeah, I want to do it. Me. You are invited to their first meeting so that everything can be discussed on how to proceed. After listening to your friend talk for about 15 minutes, about how awesome it would be to work for KnitRam Games, which is my name backwards. You casually ask your friend when the contest deadline is. Oh, and I need to go back there and change the date. So that should be our last class. I'm not sure if that's accurate. I'd have to make sure that it is on the 9th. And that would be the last day of class, right? So that's when the deadline for this little plot summary deal is. And let me see. There are a few other deadlines.
So basically, this the final.
Okay. So in the real world, nobody's going to sit there and give you a test and say, "Show me what you got." What they're going to do is they're going to look at your projects. They're going to look and see what other projects you've been part of. And that's going to be your resume, right? So what we're doing here is you're going to work on your own level with a group of people as a team to create a game that you can then show off as part of your portfolio, right? So everything leads into the same thing. As far as the grades in this class, you have, I forget how many points it is individually for each one of the labs when you turn them in on time. And then you lose points so much every week until the very end of the semester, which you can still turn in the labs, and they will be worth half as what they were. Because I don't want to punish you guys on grades. I'm not here to fail you. You guys fail you by not turning stuff in, right? So the projects, project 1, when you turn it in, will be worth 1,000 points. Roughly all the labs together turn out to be about 1,000 points. And then the end of project 2, which is finishing your level, is going to be, which has been given to you by what you've done in project 1, which is all your paperwork for your game, will also be worth 1,000 points. So roughly you end up with, it's in the syllabus somewhere. We'll take a look at it in a minute, but that's how it's going to work. So it's not that there's a final. It's you're going to continuously keep working until you end up with a final project, which should be a finished video game, because in the real world that's what you want. There's no tests. You succeed or fail by your last project or what you've been involved in.
Okay, sounds basic enough.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not. My microphone's all cracking up. I'm not here to punish you guys. What I want you to do is feel what it feels like to work on an actual project. The camaraderie that you get from your teammates, the constant meetings that you have to show up for, everybody bickering about, I don't like this skin, I want that skin, whatever. The drama of it, and what this does, hopefully, is it will teach you how to be able to pick out certain character traits and go, I want to work with this group because they seem like they've got it all together. Because I've worked in a group that didn't work really well together. Right, and so that's the point. Is like I said, some of the projects will look terrible. Some of them will be the best thing you've ever seen, right? Or very, very cool because they've got some cool concept, or they came up with some cool idea, and their story is cool, and their graphics are cool, and everything works. Which is hopefully what we end up with. 4 levels per game. All of them make sense with each other. There's a progression in them, and then there's like the intro to the character in level 1, and that's what I mean by level design. Intro to character in level 1, level 2 you assign some kind of a danger, level 3 you make it a little bit more difficult, and level 4 might be the boss. You know what I mean? You go in there and you fight the boss, whatever that might be. So again, and that might not be your game. The people who were doing the Pac-Man style game from last semester, they just made everything a little bit faster and shoot more stuff as you got from one level to the next level. And that was the difficulty in their game. But it made sense for their layout, their concept for their game, and it was actually difficult and measurable. You could play level 1 and go, this sounded sort of easy, and then you go 2 and you're like, I died, I lost a life. And then by level 3 you're like, oh man, I have to start the game over because I underestimated level 3. Or whatever, you know what I mean? And the point is to make a game that's fun. fun to play, because ultimately that's the goal. You want players to play your game. You want them to have fun. You want them to write good reviews. You want them on Twitch going, this game's awesome. And then more people come and buy your game, which then puts more money in your pocket, which is ultimately what the goal is. So a lot of what we're going to be discussing here is more like the business side of what we're doing. All right, so project objectives and goals. The purpose of this assignment is to be able to give a full elevator pitch and visual presentation, create documents associated with pitching a game proposal, understand how a team works in the pre-production phase of a video game project, learn project comms, or communication, file sharing, and management. So upon completion of Project 1, you should be able to fully explain your video game both verbally and in written form. You will be able to pull that information into a coherent sales presentation. You will be able to develop a verbal visual pitch that will be able to be given to prospective production development game company. You will understand what each team member's responsibilities are during the production phase. You will also come to understand the importance of good communication skills between the groups, between your group members. Reachability, which is really important. You don't want to not show up for your meetings, because that sort of drags the whole team down. It means other people have to take on other responsibilities, and they don't know where you are as far as like your ideas that you want to share or whatever. And then file sharing, which is very, very big and very important. All right, so this basically means that we have four things that we're doing, right? The first thing is the pitches, right? A full pitch is what you would do so you would come together with a group of people, you would figure out a game, you guys would figure out a cool concept, and then you go to a developer, a bigger company that has more money, and you pitch your idea to them, right? So this is very reminiscent of like what happens in film. Right? So somebody comes up with a script, somebody will create a timeline for that script, how much it's going to cost, how many scenes there are. They'll basically do what's called a script breakdown. And then they'll go to a bigger production company like MGM or Columbia or whatever and say, I've got this really great idea for a movie. Right? And that's sort of what we're doing as game developers, right? We can maybe take the game to a certain point, but then you're going to need the money and the resources of a bigger company to be able to deliver your project, to make it available to the masses and make sure that it works. Now, that said, not everybody follows this route. There are independent companies, so you might be independently wealthy and you might be able to hire people to do this all for yourself, but the likeliness of that happening is less than you setting out doing it this way, right? You find a group of talented people, you guys come up with a really interesting idea or concept for a game, you figure out how it's going to work, and then you go and look for money. Right? So a full pitch would be the visual presentation, everybody sitting around a table, you've basically got a projector screen, and everybody, you come and you have your notes on your note cards or whatever. You go, hi, my name is, this is the name of my group, or in this case, the name of my company. I am the group manager, group leader, or president, or whatever you want to call yourself, of this group. And we would like to present to you a concept game that we've been working on. These are the things that we're looking for from you guys. These are the things that we can offer as a group. And let's if you're interested, here's my card. We'd love to work with you guys, right? So that's what you're doing in it's sales. You're basically going in there saying, here's my game. This is the concept for my game. Here's all the paperwork for it so that you can follow along. You can see everything that the ideas that we've come up with, and then you can give us, just like any buyer at a store, a yay or a nay on whether you want to give us a shot, buy our product, help us out, make this game, right? So that's the first one, and that'll be paperwork plus visual, like probably a PowerPoint slide, definitely a Word document that you would have as your paper version. From there, it would be creating documents. So that would be what's called the game proposal. and we'll talk about that in a moment. Have a whole PowerPoint presentation on that. But basically, we'll give your game concept, who your characters are, the history of your game, why the game is fun to play, all the code that you're using in the game, what your characters are going to look like. Maybe you've done a screenshot of your level, and you show the level off, and you say, this is going to be really fun to play, and those sorts of things. So that would be the game proposal. You also have who each person is in the group, their background, any history that would make them, maybe they've worked on this game, they've worked on that game, maybe they've been in broadcasting, or maybe they've worked for a magazine, so they're good in Photoshop, whatever it is, any skill sets. I mean, it's almost like you're creating like a small resume that you're going to plug in to the back there. From there, understanding how a team works in pre-production phase of a video game project. So that you're going to experience. There's nothing to turn in there. You're just going to see. You're going to understand. And then I do have a PowerPoint presentation that sort of breaks down the rules, what everybody's expected, and I actually have one for project managers that's kind of fun. That's the Don't Be the Tyrant if you're the project manager. And then we have learn comms, which is the fourth thing. So the fourth thing will be learning, getting you guys set up on either and you decide this in your group. What's the easiest? Do we want to do Google Hangouts? Do we want to do Zoom calls? Do we want to do Discord? Do we want to have however you're going to figure out how to share information back and forth in the group. Now, if we were in the classroom, that'd be a little bit easier because you all would be in the classroom together. Usually I have my class in the afternoon, so class would end at 9, and that would give you guys about an hour before they closed the building. Some groups would meet there, have their meeting there. If you're online, then it's going to be a virtual meeting, which is a lot of what the quote-unquote new normal feels like now. All right, so let's break this down into its pieces, right? So part 1 is the written game proposal. Because there is no industry standard, there is no right or wrong way to put the proposal together, although there are certain things that create a more successful proposal, right? So also important is to inquire about any unique requirements the production development game company may be looking at for this proposal. With that said, there are many necessary elements that must be in the proposal. So what I'm saying there is basically most people, when they get a game proposal, if you're a development company, you're going to be looking for certain things. Whether those appear in order or not, whatever, but there's a certain way that you want to present information, right, to make it feel right. Like, think of a brochure, right? You have the nice picture on the front, the picture of the product, big words saying what the name of the product is. You open it up, it gives you, the 5 main selling points of that thing. Then you open up the inside leaflet. It tells you where you can buy it, when it's going to be available, what locations you can go to, those sorts of things, right? So there was an order in how you opened up that brochure that made it. No, you don't tell people where to go buy it when they don't even know what they're looking at, right? So you open up the brochure in a certain way. And so this kind of documentation, because it is meant for sales, will have this is the name of our game, here's what we want to do with it, here's how the programming works for the special features that we're going to include in our game that's going to make our game interesting, or our key features. We'll talk about that later. And then these are our characters. These are their backstories. This is what the artist was worked on to give it a certain look. Because in some games, it's how it looks. You know what I mean? That makes it cool. It does something different that some other game doesn't do. And then you might have a level that you've worked out, what the different levels look like. Like, let's say it's going to be a first-person shooter. One would be at a castle. That's one of the levels. Another level might be in a factory, right? So depending on what you need for each one of those environments, and then you would show that off, because that might be an important thing. Maybe it's a first-person shooter, and where the game takes place is what makes it interesting. You know what I mean? The environment that you're going to be playing in makes it interesting. So anyways, so that's what you're doing with the written proposal. So the things that need to be in there, right? So the group will be responsible for producing a 8 to 10 page game proposal containing the following: your risk analysis or your SWOT document, which we'll talk about later, and I'll put an example of that later. And I do have a PowerPoint slide for that too, so don't worry about it. A competitive analysis, which is again, information that I'll give you later. But basically, a SWOT is your strength, weaknesses, something, and threats. I have to think about what the O stands for. But definitely strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. There you go, opportunities and threats. And so basically you create a little grid, you put all your group's strengths on one part, you would put all your group's weaknesses in another, you would put opportunities in the market that are happening, and then threats that are happening in the market. So basically it breaks down to where the S and W are things that you can control, they're advantages that you have or disadvantages that you have that you know that you might be able to do something about, and then the O and the T are about things that you have no control over, trends in the market. Maybe vampires were very popular for the last 10 years and then all of a sudden they fell off for zombies because now all we have is Walking Dead. And I think that's about done. I think they're getting ready to flip it, the monsters to something else because people are done with that genre. They've seen it too much. So if you're coming out with a new zombie game, you might look at the market and go, it's probably not the best time to do that, right? So anyways, we'll talk about that stuff later more, but that will be part of what helps you put your documentation together, because everybody will do a SWOT analysis and together you'll put. Now a competitive analysis is you're looking at other groups. So what you'll end up doing eventually is looking at other small groups, people that have made video games, and 4-member groups, 10-member groups, 20-member groups, not huge video game companies that employ hundreds of people, but small video game companies, because that's essentially what we're doing, right? We're a small group of people who have come together to make a video game, and we want to see other examples, other things that are available in the market that resemble what we are. Small video game company can develop a game that looks like this. Can we do that? And then you compare what they're doing with your SWOT analysis, and you're able to then create what are called selling points, right? So I used to work at a jewelry store for 20 years. I started when I was 18 years old, co-op out of Bel Air High School. And the jewelry store that I went to work at was high-end sales. I mean, it was $100 and up items all the way up to, I think some of the bigger sales that we had was 60 to 100,000, depending on who the customer was. So it was sales, it was high end, it was luxury items, right? Stuff that people didn't need. So I had to figure out how to sell a rock and a piece of metal to somebody. Right, so if you talk about like a hard sale, right? Because most people don't want to part with their money, especially when they know that it's going to end up in a drawer somewhere and she's not going to wear it. But you still got to do it because it's the holidays, and if you don't give her something, she's gonna yell at you, right? So how do I upsell? How do I make them? What can I latch onto in this customer that will give me an edge with them that will make them say yes? Right? Yes, okay, give it to me. I like that. Right? So I'd have to come up with points. I'd have to figure out, what is she like? What is she wearing now? What have you bought her before? And you just start asking all these questions to be able to do that. And so that's essentially what a competitive analysis. You would look at the other customers or the other people, competitors in your industry, what they've done, how they're doing it, figure out how you can add that or compete with them. So anyways, from there, it's the actual, and to think of it that the game proposal itself, the document, is more or less a business plan on how your game is going to be created and made. So the game proposal documentation should include the following: an introduction, team members and positions, leader, artist, programmer, level designer. Argue amongst yourselves. And then you have gameplay description. So what is the game going to be like? Is it going to be a first-person shooter? Is it going to be an action-adventure? Is it going to be a horror slasher? Is it going to be a stealth game? Is it going to be whatever? From there, any list of key features. What makes this game special? What things can my character do that you can't do in other games, or that makes this a funner game to play than other games? What genre? Well, sort of explained that already. The genre of the game: hacker slasher, action adventure, first-person shooter. What platform? That's going to be already picked out for us. That's on the computer. We're not doing handheld devices or mobile. And then any concept art that the artist has developed, right? So when I look at this, the introduction, team members and positions, that might be something that, let's say, the group leader might work on those pages, right? Then I look at something like concept art, maybe game description, something like that. That might go to the artist. Key features, something like that might go to the programmer, because they have to develop, is my character going to have a jetpack? How does a jetpack work? How do I make that in the game? How do I add the code to my character to make that work? That might be programmer. And then what platform, what genre, that might be the level designer. They might take those pages and work on those pages, right? So between the four of you, there's 8 to 10 pages needed for the game proposal. If everybody does 2 pages based on what their description is in their group, that makes this a lot easier, right? You're not responsible for 8 pages each. You're responsible for the pages that make sense for what you're doing in the game, right? So from there you have the introduction. So I've broken this down a little bit further. The introduction to your game concept contains what are probably the most important words in the document. These words will sell the document to the reader. So this is going to be your title, your genre, your log line or tag line. We'll take a look at that later. The edge, what platform, and what relevant key features. So the introduction is sort of like a base summary of everything that they're going to see inside of the rest of the document, made in a way that makes the pitch sound interesting, right? So, for example, the idea of a tagline is no one can hear you scream in space. That's another big tagline. You can think of any movie where that small sentence that they put at the bottom of the poster that gives you a feeling of what the game is what the movie's about, or that it's a revenge movie, or that it's a mystery movie, or that it's a suspense movie, or whatever, right, by the little tagline that they put into it. So you'll develop that as a group, figure out what makes sense for the game that you guys are going to develop. From there, gameplay description. What is this? In a few paragraphs or a page, describe the game to the readers as if they are playing the game. Use the second-person perspective view. Try to make this section as exciting to the narrative, exciting narrative to the player's experience. Encompass all the key elements that define the core game play by describing exactly what the player does and sees. Avoid using such as specific words such as mouse clicks and keystrokes, but keep it more vague. You're going to be in an open world with lots of small villages, and your job is to maneuver the landscape to find all the hidden treasure things, so then that way you can construct the mega weapon or the mega MacGuffin that you need to be able to then beat the bad guy with, who has kept control of this, that everybody hates for whatever reason. He's a bad person, or a demon, or a vampire, or whatever, right? So that's gameplay description. I know I'm going to be walking around in a world. There's going to be outside and insides. I know that I'm, I guess, some kind of hero, and that I'm looking for my MacGuffin. Do you guys know what a MacGuffin is? Because I keep using that word like you guys know what that means.
Talking about the thing from like Into the Spider-Verse.
So a MacGuffin is a term used in writing.
Fugazi. It's a fake.
It's a fake. It's a MacGuffin. Well, no, it's meant
The
like
big
okay.
gun.
Well, no, it's in every quest. There's that trinket that you need. A trinket would be another good word for a MacGuffin.
Like say in a movie, the whole movie, like everyone's trying to grab like a briefcase, but then at the end the briefcase does not matter to the story.
Not so much. That's a misdirect. What a MacGuffin would be like, for anybody that watched Goonies, the MacGuffin was the treasure at the end. That helped them fix their problem. But more specifically, let's say in the newer 3 trilogy of Star Wars, where you had Rey, and they had to, I think in the last film, go find something in the Death Star that had fallen, and they had that little knife that had the thing that pulled out, and they held it up, and then she had to go and find that thing, and without it they would not be able to
Like a compass.
The compass, right? So the compass in that movie was the MacGuffin. It's an object that the characters have to obtain, and what it does is it pulls the story along, so then that way you can see how the characters interact with each other, or and then you like a character, you don't like a character, whatever, but you're giving them a task to do, basically. So anyways, so you have your character, there's the MacGuffin, they go and they go on their quest, right? So that would be the game description. Now, key features are going to be special things that make your game stand apart, right? So your game concept key features selection is a bullet point list of items that you will set that will make your games that will set your game apart from others and provide goals to which the subsequent documentation and implementation should aspire to, right? So the programmers, if your key feature is a staff that allows you to be able to control fire and ice, and that's your game concept is fire and ice. Something, and then you make it like a wizard world or something, and you have the fire team and the ice team, and then there's maybe one character that has a staff that has to collect the stuff from the fire people and from the ice tribe and put it together in the staff. There's your MacGuffin. But all that staff will eventually allow them to be able to fight both armies. So they'll be able to use the ice one to beat the fire people, and then the fire one to beat the ice people or whatever, right? So the special feature would then be a staff. You have to find a staff. You'd have to find a particle system that makes it look like fire, or makes it look like you've got a flame torch that comes out of it or something from a certain point, and that would be the key feature. That'd be one key feature. Maybe another key feature would be, like I've given an example here. Maybe it's a music group. Maybe you've maybe somebody in your group. One of the advantages, the strengths that your group has, is that maybe you have somebody that works in audio engineering, like me, and might know bands or acts local that might be interested in working on a video game. And then you can sell that as part of your, maybe they have some notoriety. Maybe they can, because ultimately it's about bringing eyeballs to your project, right? It's about making your project interesting and giving it an extra sales point where you can go, hey, people who are going to give us a bunch of money, the development people, me, I guess in this case, the people that I'm doing this pitch for, I know this artist, they have agreed to working on 6 songs for this game that will only be available in this game, and if you want to hear them, you have to buy our game. Boom, that's a selling point, right? So something like that would make your game more interesting. Maybe you've got a specific artist, like a visual artist, that's going to come in and make a level that they're going to design certain aspects of the game, and they've got 25,000 followers on Facebook, social media, whatever, and those are more eyeballs that we can bring to the project, right? So key features doesn't necessarily need to be things that your character can do or things that in the game you're going to be working on code that might make the game more interesting. It can be things outside the game that add eyeballs to the game that would make it more interesting. So-and-so's specific art form, or our game is going to look like a Van Gogh painting. You know what I mean? key feature. There, your artist would have to do a lot of work, right? Because they would have to figure out how to make it look like a Van Gogh painting. So concept art. Since we're talking about that, a little bit of art helps sell the idea and puts the reader in the right frame of mind. The use of art to convey unique and complex ideas, screen mock-ups go a long way to express your vision. And what I mean by this is, don't just give me a Word document that has words in there. Maybe somebody has done a screen capture of one of the levels. Maybe somebody has figured out what their enemy characters are going to look like, and you take screenshots of that, you turn them into JPEGs, and you bring that into your Word document. So then that way you're dressing up the Word document a little bit, so it doesn't just look like boring words. Because remember, this is like a brochure. This is your sales pitch. This is going to be when you leave the meeting and they think about it, right? The thing that they're going to have in their hands is this documentation, and this is what they're going to be looking at. So whatever you put into that documentation, it needs to have pictures. I've bought a few products that were just brown boxes, but not anything exciting. Well, I take that back. One thing, I bought I don't know why Ableton Push does it, but they use a brown box when they sell their push. It just says Ableton on the outside of it, and you don't have no idea what's in it. But most products will put a picture of what their product looks like on the outside so you can visualize it, right? So the concept art here is the whole thing doesn't need to be super decorated, but there needs to be, like, if it's going to be a spooky game, maybe you make the background color, instead of white, black. You use white text instead of black text, so it'll obviously show up. Maybe you'll use blood font for certain headers. You'll decide to throw in like a goblin in the corner, or whatever one of your enemy characters might look like from concept art in the corner, just to give it that spooky look. So then that way the document looks interesting, because again, it's a sales brochure. This is what they're going to have. Now from there, the team membership, that's pretty easy. You take a screenshot of you take a picture of everybody. You put that into the documentation on the last page or next to the last page, and you put a small description of what their roles are, what software they're using. Are they the level designer, the programmer, the artist, the project manager, and then any jobs, any interesting stuff that they've worked on before would be there. So that's what I would expect in the written documentation, right? So all those things will be there. There will be basically 3 things that you'll be responsible for. I'll need a risk analysis, which is the paperwork that you guys are going to do individually, a competitive analysis, which you guys are going to do collectively as a group, and then the game proposal documents, which you will be doing collectively in a group. And again, I'll explain these more in a little bit. From there, 8 to 10 pages, you'll put that information together, you'll make it look interesting, you'll go through this again and figure out what I'm looking for in each one of those sections. Given you an idea more or less. Now I'm going to show you examples of what this looks like. I don't have those examples up yet, but I do have them on this computer, so I'll show them to you here, and then I'll make them available on Canvas later, so then that way you guys can see them. Alright, so let me scroll back up here, and let's just make sure. Okay, so that's the written part. The other half of this is going to be a verbal pitch. So, talking in front of a group of people can be difficult. So this is going to be practice for you, getting in front of people and talking to them and trying to present a certain idea and trying to get them to say yes. That's ultimately what we want from our verbal pitch. We're going to divide this into 2 sections. There's going to be what's called the elevator pitch, which is a very short basically 1 minute. You're stuck in an elevator with somebody, you recognize who that person is, you say, hi, my name is so-and-so, here's a business card, I'd love to have a meeting with you, this is a project that we're working on, I realize you don't have a lot of time now, but I'd love to talk to you about it someday. So basically what I guess what a salesperson would do when you sort of give them that, I don't want to be bothered right now. You know what I mean? Just let me look around. They'll give you that, oh, my name is so-and-so, and I do this, and here's my business card, and if I can help you, please let me know. right? So that's the elevator pitch, but you have to sell your game in that small amount of time, right? Or at least pique their interest to the point where they say, this is interesting. Let me not throw the card away, right? Now, the goal would be to communicate your base game concept to the person who you're throwing the pitch to, right? So you don't want to get too big into what the game is or the specifics of the game. Just say we're working on it, very quick, very fast sales pitch. From there, the tools, it'd be just you, your ideas, and your body language and your voice. So what's the only requirement for the elevator pitch? There's no paperwork. It's just you, your ideas, the script that you sort of created for yourself. And I'll tell you what, when I first started working at the jewelry store, one of the things that they wanted me to do was call customers and tell them, hey, your repair is ready, please come by and pick it up. And they realized that I was having a problem with this because I wasn't used to talking to people on the phone that I didn't want to talk to, right? So I didn't know how to say it and make sure that I had all the information before I hung up, and that I wasn't dragging my feet while I was doing it, that it sounded a certain way. So what they did was we wrote a script. They said, these are the things we want you to say, and every time you make a call, read the script until it's memorized, right? So, hi, my name is Martin Hansen. This is, I'm calling from Ireland Jewelers. Your repair is ready. Please call us back at 713-666-6333. We'll be here till 6 o'clock this afternoon. We are open Saturdays. We're closed Sunday. If you need any questions answered, please give us a call back. Again, the telephone number is 713-666-6333. Have a nice day. Boom. And I haven't worked there in like at least 10 years. So that's sort of the elevator pitch, right? It's sort of this thing that you've rehearsed. You know exactly what you're going to say. You know how you're going to say it. You're going to get your points across. It's going to be quick, and it'll be done fast, right? So from there, things to think about to put into your elevator pitch, right? And this was the script that me and my boss came up with, right? What am I going to say? Who I am? What the importance of the call? How to reach us? When we're going to be open, when we're not going to be open, are there any holidays coming up, and if they needed to contact us, the ways that they can do so, right? In the elevator pitch, as far as pitching your game, what you want to do is you want to introduce yourself, you want to give the game's the name of the title of the project that you're working on, the tagline, which is supposed to create describe the game in one sentence, and the genre, what kind of game it is, what you're going to be doing in it, but not saying exactly things, to being like this is an adventure or a sports game or a puzzle game or a racing game or a platformer or a role-playing game, or it's a mixed genre where it's an action adventure or a platform role player or whatever it is, right? Something that very quickly in a couple of words for somebody that's in the industry they'd be able to understand. They go, oh, okay, I know what kind of game that is. Who your target audience is, which is very big. This game is designed for, is it young kids, older kids, adults, boys, girls, both? Is it a game designed to be difficult for people to play? Is it a game that's designed to be super challenging? Is it something that they can play on their on their phone, pause it, and then come back to it? Whatever it is. And in that case, that would be somebody that doesn't have a lot of continuous time to play on a game. Anyway, so you identify who your target is for the game that you're creating. From there, what platform it's going to be on. For us, it's going to be a computer-based game. But you can make the point that this is going to eventually go to mobile. It's going to do very well in mobile because there's other games that are similar to this, which is where your analysis or your competitive analysis would have come into play, right? You would have been, hey, there's 3 other companies that are already doing something similar to this, but they're in Europe. There's nobody in the United States doing something like this, and we could corner the market, right? Again, what it is that you're selling, why it's cool, what it is, who the target market is, and where people are going to be able to play it should be in your elevator pitch. And I have a couple of videos that you can see on elevator pitches, and we'll do that later. So game description, another thing that should be there, which would be the core mechanics. So what is the player going to do? This is often best described through verbal things like running, jumping, racing, counting, puzzle solving, exploring. So this is what the player is doing in the game, what the first person is doing in the game, and you would definitely want that in your elevator pitch to give more information about it. And then the other thing that you would sort of wrap up with would be a key feature. You don't have to go into the complete list of key features. Just say, hey, this is a first-person shooter where you're flying. You know, like most of the game is spent with a jetpack or something, and instead of just being a normal first-person shooter where everybody's on the ground, you will now have to maneuver in space three-dimensionally to shoot your characters, right? Because whatever your world or your concept is. Sorry, I've been talking too much. I need a drink.
We have some water or.
Oh yeah, no, I've got cold.
Monster
I've got cold coffee sitting right next to me. It just,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I need to get one of those like USB warmers that you can like sit your mug on. That keeps your coffee like at a certain temperature. My sister got my mom, because my mom loves tea, a cup that actually plugs in, has a USB port on it. And so you plug that into your computer, and the cup itself, it's not even a plate, it's the cup, keeps your thing warm. And then I think it has like a small battery in it, so it'll actually keep a charge. So once it's fully there, you just turn it on, and for like 4 hours it'll keep your thing warm. It's really cool. See, all the key features that I just named about that particular product, everybody's going to be like, maybe I want one of those now. Anyway, so now, in the final summary, the thing that's the questions that are probably going, because once you berate somebody with a bunch of information in an elevator pitch, you're going to have to expect them to say something, right? They're just not going to take your card and give you the big giant bug eyes and look at you and be like, okay, thanks. That might happen, be expected that, but more commonly is these 3 questions, or actually 4 questions. What makes your game special, right? So now they're giving you a little bit of extra time, and you might be asked this question. If you don't have an answer for it, you just lost the sale. What makes the game different? Which is sort of the same question, right? But here they're being a little bit more specific because maybe you brought up that it's like this game or it's like that game, and so you then have to defend that position, right? So what makes your game different? Then why would anybody want to play it, right? That's a harsh question to ask. Well, that sounds, I guess, but why would I want to play it, right? So you might want to have an answer for that one. And then why should I care about it, right? Which this is the person you've just given the elevator pitch to, who just gives you the flat out, why do I care, right? And now a lot of these things are, sometimes it's a negotiating thing, right? And that's why I'm saying is if you have some type of an answer for those questions, you'll be much better prepared because you won't be caught off guard, right? So for example, again, with the jewelry store, because it was high-end sales, we had a couple of really big watch companies, like we never carried Rolex, but that was the question I'd always get. I'd always get, hey, why should I buy this when I could buy a Rolex, right? So that was one of these questions. After I'd made my whole pitch on a Citizen watch or whatever watch was there, I'd go, well, do you like paying $800 every time, you need to get your watch serviced? Do you like having to pay $200 to replace a link on your watch, where here they're going to give you 3 links for free? Like I would just come up with wherever the discussion went. But I had already a couple of, well, why should I care if I can go buy this brand? What makes this brand special? Why should I, a big selling point was that the watches that we were selling were solar, right? So they were actually solar charged watches. You wear them, and as light hits them, the surface of the watch itself, where the dial is, there's actually a rechargeable battery underneath, and then that would actually charge your watch as you walked it. So you could say, hey, think about how many times you've had a watch, you had to go in and get a battery, and it costs $10 to do a battery, and for the life of the watch, 5 years, 10 years, that's $100 in batteries. This watch costs $100 more than that watch, but you don't have to replace batteries now. Boom, done, sold, right? So be prepared for questions after you give an elevator pitch. Don't just be like and then just shut off. Now the ultimate goal of the elevator pitch is to try to secure a longer presentation, right? Which is what our full pitch and visual presentation would be. They've now said, yep, you got 30 minutes, come in, dazzle us, show us what you got. Let me bring in the other people, because I think this is an interesting idea, but it's not just my company. I'm just one of the people that work there. So let me bring in our developer, this person, that person. Give us a full presentation of your ideas with a PowerPoint, and come in on, Monday this date or Tuesday this date. And that would be then a successful pitch, right? Because you got them to do something for you, which in this case wasn't necessarily, you can't just berate somebody on an elevator and expect them to give you tons of money. They're going to want to see more documentation. They're going to want to see more information from you. So they're going to give you a meeting. And that meeting is where you would go and give your full presentation and your full visual, your full pitch and your full visual presentation. So immediately following an elevator pitch, the game designer, the team leader, and the rest of the group will deliver the full presentation. So the elevator pitch, it's normally going to be the group leaders who are going to give the elevator pitch. Those are the people that I would expect to give the elevator pitch. Now, some people may try it and it doesn't work out. You're going to do this in your groups. You're going to give the elevator pitch a couple of times, make sure that it sounds good, that you don't get hung up on anything. But I've seen other groups, maybe somebody else is a better presenter and they're able to do a better pitch. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the group leader, although that's who I'm expecting to do the elevator pitch. Now, for the full pitch, it's going to be the whole group, right? So the group leader will come back out, say, hi, thank you for this meeting. Let me introduce my group members. This person so-and-so, that person so-and-so. As we go through the presentation, we'll be calling on certain people to come in and show what they're working on for their part in the project. And at the end of it, we'll all, you can ask us whatever questions you want. So the full pitch will be everybody. I do have a time limit, just like the elevator pitch was 1 minute in length, and if you go over it, I'll take points off. Here's the same thing. The full pitch should be no more than 10 or 15 minutes, because you may only get a 30-minute meeting with some of these people. They're scheduled, they're busy, they're working on other projects. So 10 to 15 minutes to put your presentation together, and 10 to 15 minutes to do questions, right? Because I'm sure that they would have questions, and they probably have another meeting they need to go to. So you don't want to take up the whole 30 minutes. So 10 to 15 minutes, compact, eventful, lots of interesting things, topics, discussions, getting to the point and the root of the matter. So from there, the goal of the full pitch is to communicate your concept and convince the person that you're pitching that your game should be made, right? That they should invest their money into your team. Tools. Your ideas, your body language, plus any props, and I've put that in quotation marks because most likely that's going to be a PowerPoint tutorial, but props would also be the documentation, the written document, right? That's also something that you would be presenting at the same time. So props would be your written documentation that you're going to hand to the people that you're giving the pitch to, in this case me, the development company. And then your PowerPoint presentation, maybe you've got some kind of a cutout, maybe you've created some kind of an interesting something or another, and you want to bring that to... Now, the other thing also, maybe a playable version of your game, right? So either you've come in with some sample art, maybe somebody knows how to make plush toys and has already created a plush toy for one of your characters, and they, and I'm not saying you guys have to do that. I'm just saying because remember, the thing that made Star Wars was the product sales after the movie, right? And that's what made George Lucas rich, was that he realized that he kept all product rights for worldwide distribution. So if they sold a Baby Yoda in China, he's getting money from it, right?
Oh,
so
Grogu.
yeah, Baby Yoda's. Mando is such a good series. I can't wait for 3, but I think they're done at 3. I think that's going to be the end of the run. Can't wait to watch the Boba Fett thing. But so that would be like an example of like art or product that you can put together. Maybe one of you guys in your groups loves Legos, and you can put like a Lego fort or something together that you're going to then sell later, and you're going to have a development deal with. I'm just shooting from the hip here, but different things that you would bring in that would be props that you could use to sell your game. Also a playable demo. So if you can come in with maybe not a whole level created, maybe not everything's there, but maybe you've set up like a small arena that you're showing off the melee stuff, or some kind of a special weapon that's going to be in, or some kind of you've created a small level that shows how the stealth stuff works, or whatever your key concept is going to be, that you actually have a working demo, because that also goes a long way, because then they see, oh wow, not only are they pitching these ideas, but they also kind of know how to make them, right? And we can see what it looks like, or what the gameplay might be like. And I always give the example of Portal. Portal on paper sounds like a dumb game. Here's a gun, creates a hole in the wall, shoots you, and you appear, and you shoot another place, and then you walk through that hole, and you show up in the other hole. But in practical gameplay, it's amazing, because you have gravity, you have jumps. There's certain places that it's like a puzzle game, but you can't explain that on paper. But if you had a working copy of the gun in a level, and you go, look, this is what you can do, and you walk into the development deal or the development company with that, they're like, oh wow, this is fun, this is so cool, and they're more likely to say yes. Now, do you have to have a working demo of your game or a playable concept going? No, it's not necessary. What I will be looking for is the PowerPoint slide, the written documentation, and any other props that you might bring in that help you sell your game. Now, some people have created a poster, just something big that they could put next to them that has the name, like a kiosk, right? You go into a store and they're selling X brand of shoes, and there's a big poster sitting next to the shoes that lets you know that that's that company's shoe, and whoever the celebrity is that's wearing that shoe, right? A picture of them. So that would be another prop, another tool. Anyways, so full checklist for the things that I'm looking for in the full pitch would be, again, very similar to what's going to be in the elevator pitch, just you get to expand on it a lot more, right? So instead of having everything done in 1 minute, you get maybe a minute to explain each one of these things. So I'm not going to belabor that, because we've sort of already talked.
Excuse me, Professor, could you explain the elevator pitch thoroughly one more time?
Right, the elevator, and we'll get more into it because I want to get through the paperwork, and I will show you examples of what an elevator pitch is. But basically, if I got stuck in an elevator with you and I had 1 minute to convince you of that you should give us a meeting, or you should think about my game, right? That's what an elevator pitch is. An elevator pitch is what a salesperson would do on a floor. Hey, how you doing? My name is blah blah blah. This is blah blah blah. This is this company. You should buy this. They have a wonderful product. And here's my business card. If you decide that you want to buy something, then you should call me, right? And that's sort of what the elevator pitch is gonna. We'll give you examples later, so don't feel like you have to know what that totally means right now. Just understand that there's elevator pitch, full pitch and presentation, and the written document. And in your group, you will put that together, right? So presentation, for example, let's say the PowerPoint. As each member comes up and describes what they're doing in the game, they would be responsible for those 2 PowerPoint slides, or their 2 slides, or the slide that's going to describe or show what they're working on, right? So again, not one person needs to do everything. One person needs to compile everything, right? Put the full PowerPoint presentation in one PowerPoint. Put all the written stuff into one Word document, right? And again, team leaders, looking at you guys. But, not that they have to come up with it completely on their own. The group will work on it together. So the let's see, where are we? Full pitch, introduction, game description, key features, same thing. You can get a little bit more into what those key features are. Maybe if you have a working version, you demo it right there, or maybe somebody's done a video capture of what the thing looks like, and you just bring in a video that can play during your PowerPoint tutorial, and you can leave that playing in the background as you describe what the key features are. There's a lot of different ways that you can do it. From there, in the close, so the final summary. What makes your game special? What makes it different? So the same questions there. And then the other big thing here is you have to have a selling point. You have to basically say, this is what we're looking for, because basically what you're doing is you're trying to create an agreement, a contract. In a contract, what you have is two parties that come together. One party creates an offer, the other party creates a counter offer, and then the first party accepts, right? So, hey, I want, do you need somebody to mow your yard? Sure, can you do it for 20 bucks? Can I get 25? Offer, counter offer, or the offer, the counter offer, and then the acceptance. Sure, I'll do it for 25, no problem, right? So there's the back and forth, right? And that's sort of what you need to do at the end of your presentation. You can, and this is going to be somewhat fictitious, right? I mean, you're just going to be creating a ask, because we don't know for sure how long it's going to take you to build this project. For example, I might look at excuse me. In an ask, it might be something like, well, there's 4 of us, we need to be able to pay ourselves, and we need certain equipment. So we need a $5,000 computer, we need access to $2,000 software, 2 copies of it, we need a location to be able to run the business from, to have these machines, and it's going to take us about a year to work on this project to bring it to completion. You do the math, you figure out how much money that's going to end up being, and then you present to these people and you say, hey, we can get the game done in a certain amount of time for a certain dollar amount, right? And so that would be what the ultimate goal of the pitch would be. First of all, to get them to agree, right? Hey, we can make this game for you. It's going to cost us this much and take this long. We need you to give us the money, so then that way we don't have to do side jobs or work our regular 9 to 5, and we can take off the time to work exclusively on this. Or we know that in our group we don't have a good programmer, and so we need to hire a programmer. The programmer costs $50,000, $60,000 a year, and we've already located somebody that we've got them for this much, and we're going to include that as part of the price. So, like when you take your car in to get fixed, and they give you that list of, this is the stuff you need to do immediately. This is the stuff that needs looking at. This is the stuff you should think about doing monthly. And they just put all this stuff, and then you go through and you go, whoever, you look at it and go, well, I want this, I definitely need to do that, this we can maybe do later, 6 months from now, and now they're already spending your money, right? And so remember that this is sales. You're trying to sell your game to a developer, and so they need to know 3 things: how long is it going to take to make, how much money is it going to cost me, and how soon can you get it done. So from there, setting up communications. Now, when you guys break up into your groups for your first time, this is more or less what I expect most of you guys to, the first meeting to sort of feel like. It's going to be deciding what you guys are going to do, what your role is in the development for your project, group leader, artist, level designer, and programmer. So then that way you can get your documentation stuff done. And then the other thing would be to figure out how you're going to communicate. So obviously we have the inbox here with HCC, right? Through the HCC email that's available, like here. And you could at least set up your first meeting. You know who your members are. Their names pop up. You don't have to ask anybody what they're, you just go here. What is this? Fall. What do I call it? Yeah, there's our class. And I'd say group leader, Oh, wrong keyboard. Group leader. First meeting. Inquiry. I don't know. Whatever you want. Oh, that's the twos. Sorry. So the 2 would be the people in your group, right? So to find those people, everybody should have in their course the tab that says group, or the tab that says people. And then if you click on there, you'd see group projects. It's only one group project. You would click into your group, figure out where your name is, and then I believe even maybe from let's see. Either way, you have the names of the people there. So let's say I'm in group 1 and I'm Fernando because I'm the team leader. I'm going to go to inbox. I'm going to look again at who was in my group. Maybe I'll jot it down real quick. Maybe I'll use my phone to snapshot who's on the list. And then from there, I'll go to inbox, start a new letter, select this course, find the people. And in this case, it wouldn't be teachers, it would be students. Ooh, was there groups? Student groups. I'm in group 1. Boom, there's the people in group 1. Fantastic. Wonderful. So now you don't even have to do a snapshot of your screen. You can just go everybody in group 1. First meeting available, blah, 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 and so, and then, hi, my name is, welcome to the group. Hope you guys are available. When are you guys available for your first meeting? Yada, yada, yada. I have a Discord page, or I already use Google Hangouts. Do you guys want to do it on a Zoom call? And then you wait for people to contact you back. You figure out what time and date works for everybody in your group, and then when you guys what system you're going to be using. So you'd hit send, and you'd send that out to everybody. So as far as getting the group together for the first meeting, that would be more. Oops, wrong class. Let's go to the right class. And we'll go back to that, and we'll scroll down to the bottom. So full presentation. There we are, setting up comms. So there are basically 3 different things, 3 different kind of websites that are available. One are project management websites. The other ones are file transfer websites. And then the other one are video conferencing websites, right? So file sharing, video conference, and project management. Between those, I've given you a list, and it's a mixed list. Some of these things do both, some of them do one. A lot of things have changed now, especially after the whole lockdown COVID thing, where more companies are making video conferencing available from their platforms, right? So some of these now have the ability to do, maybe you can do file sharing and video conferencing. I know Discord, I think, recently added video conferencing to one of the things. It used to be just file transfer and sending text messages, but now you can do video.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different things that you can do. So the GitHub would be a project manager website. Trello is a project manager website. Dropbox is a file sharing website. Google Drives is another file sharing website. Google Hangouts would be a video conferencing website. Facebook Messenger or chat groups would be sort of like, I don't know if I think they might do video now. Discord definitely does video and file transfer. WeTransfer specifically for large file transfers, so that's actually a neat website. It's not even a website, it's just a service. Actually, it is a website. WeTransfer.com. And then I've given a small explanation of what each one of those options are that I've given you up there. So I have broken them down into, these are the project management. They do file sharing, communication, or management, what they are. Some pros or cons about each one of them. So like Discord, last time I did this, as of, there it goes, July 2019. Well, I need to do updates to this. What it was able to do. So image, video, audio communication, now it's video. So maybe I did do that. Slack definitely allows you to send information, text messages. So Slack is sort of like what Discord used to be. Let's see. Video conferencing, definitely one of these, because I've never been part of any project where we didn't have a video conference meeting even before COVID. We were all doing Google Hangouts or Zoom calls or something where we would all show up weekly to whatever the meeting was. Everybody would present to what they've been working on and what new challenges we had for the upcoming week. So this is where your group meetings will be taking place. I strongly recommend doing them online, even after the school starts, because maybe not everybody makes it to school, but everybody can be online at a certain time. So that's a good way to get everybody on the same page, group project managers. And then file management and transfer. So there's Dropbox, which you create a online folder. Anyways, description of Dropbox. You can put you can synchronize folders in Dropbox. So if like somebody's working, two people are working on a level, somebody's working on their level, somebody else is working on their level, but they're sharing things. Dropbox is a great way because it does do an instant synchronization when you hit the button to synchronize it. Google Drives, I think, gives you up to offers 15 gigs of free storage. I'm not sure if that's changed, but they also sell storage, so you can have up to 300 terabytes with a Google Drive account if you want to give them something like $100 a month. That's, I think, the upper range. I'm not saying anybody in this class should do that. Use the 15 free. That should be more than enough. And then WeTransfer does a single file up to 2 gigs for free. And then if you're going to send anything larger than 2 gigs, you can send up to 20 gigs, but you have to end up paying for their services at that point. And then they also do password protection, which is cool. And the thing with WeTransfer is that it's not a permanent thing. The thing stays up there for like a week, and then if you haven't downloaded it, whoever the sender is would have to upload it again because it auto erases itself after a certain amount of time. That's why they sell storage, in case you want to keep it up there longer than that. But anyways, so there's a couple of different websites that you can use, or different communication methods that you can use to be able to send information back and forth, and also be able to create your meetings and be able to make sure that everybody's on track with their project. From there, turning in the project, the written proposal. Now, if it turns out that it does stay an online class, and I'll find out by next Monday, if it stays an online class, then it will be a Word document that you will hand me. You won't actually need to go out and go print anything. But if it turns out that we do indeed show up for class, then I will conduct this the normal way, and you would have to print out your document, and you'd have to turn it in. Now, you do have, remember that this is a prop. It's meant to look a certain way. It's a brochure. So there are, not everybody has a color printer at home. Not everybody has a book binder at home, or a spiral binder, or whatever. But places like FedEx will actually do spiral bindings, color printings, binding of books, right? So you say, here's my 10-15 pages. I want you to put it into a spiral style notebook. And that just makes it look cooler. You know what I mean? I think you pay a couple of extra bucks. They print however many pages it's going to be in color, and they'll actually spiral it for you. They'll cut the holes and put remember the spiral notebooks we used to have in elementary school, right? Where you learn how to like write sentences and things like that, and had that little metal spiral in the middle. That's what I'm talking about.
I still use those.
If you've got a small notebook, that's generally how those things are made. But you can get those things done at FedEx. Also, if you were going to create a poster or any type of prop that you were going to use, you could also get that done. But definitely that I would want the written proposal as a Word document, not just stapled in the top left-hand corner as an afterthought. You know what I mean? That you're actually taking some pride in making this documentation. Now, as far as, again, I don't want necessarily anybody to spend any money that's going to keep them from eating food, right? So if your situation is food's more important than getting your spiral notebook bound, then fine. But if you have the possibility to throw a couple of bucks at it, fine. I'm not going to stop you from making it look nicer. And it does help. Trust me. I mean, you don't buy a brand new box and it doesn't come with any, nice picture on the outside. Somebody had to pay for that. The printing on the outside of the box, that had to go to a company that had to cut out the cardboard that your box is going to be in, the styrofoam holding the object that you're buying inside of it with whatever paper documentation, and that cellophane wrap that goes around the outside of it to make sure that it doesn't get scratched in shipping or whatever, right? All that's presentation. I actually had a situation the other day where I was at Lowe's, and I bought a torque wrench, and the box looked like it had gotten smashed. And I asked the lady at the sales, "Can I get a discount?" She looked at me and she goes, "No, everything's there." And because she had to go get a manager, and that's what I heard the manager say from not too far away, and actually quite loud. And so she came back to me, the sales, she said, "No, I can't." And I was like, "Okay, I understand." And before I left, though, I walked up to the lady and I go, "Look, I've been in sales for a very long time. I've worked for big companies. I've worked for small companies. The reason why I asked for a discount was not because I was trying to ruffle your feathers or make you feel uncomfortable. Quite the opposite. There's a risk. I'm buying something that looks like the box is smashed. That doesn't make me feel very comfortable. The aesthetics of this product is that something's broken or might be missing, right? So instead of paying full price for it, I would like to pay for less, because the only reason, and the torque wrench, I mean, the thing costs $70. It probably costs, wherever it was made, $5 to make. The rest of it's packaging, shipping, and then storing it, and then everybody else making their chump change on it before it finally got to me. So by the time I bought it, I'm paying $70 for it. The people that made it with all the raw materials probably made it for like $5. So I looked at her and I go, "You and I both know that this thing does not cost $70. The reason why I'm paying $70 is because it's brand new. Nobody's touched it. I know that all the parts are there, everything. This box is smashed. It's the only one there, and you guys are the only people around that have it, and I need it for a project. So that's why I'm purchasing it. I'm not being an ass. Otherwise, I would have left, and I would have left this on the counter. I would have gone and bought it somewhere else because of the way you treated me, right? And because it doesn't look right, right? So think of that when you're putting your project together. Do you want it to look like something smashed, like somebody didn't really put a lot of effort or energy into it? Or do you want it to look interesting? Even if you have to go get one of those $1 things from the store that has like a little plastic, like a plastic sleeve, and had that little, it's almost like a little plastic binder that would go down the back end of it, right? Remember, anybody had to like turn in projects, right? With the back in school, in grade school. And even that's fine. Then giving me stapled document. So FedExes are available just about everywhere. You can go find a FedEx Kinko somewhere. And then if we are at the school, this place, if it's still there, was actually just on the other side of 610 from us, or the other side of 59 from us. So you'd go out the front of the school, go out the parking lot, hang a right on the freeway, 610, and go underneath the overpass and end up on the other side closer to the Galleria. And this would have been on the corner right there on the right-hand side of Richmond and the Southwest Freeway. So it's right there. There's a telephone number, and at the time when I was doing stuff, they were giving HCC students discounts because they were getting a lot of HCC students to come in there. So if you're close to school, you have a car, and you want to do the binding there, great. Or if you want to get them to print it for you, so because you don't have a color printer or something like that, you can get it done there. Maybe a discount. If not, you can go to FedEx, which would be closer, I would assume, to where you live, unless you live right next to the school, and you can get the stuff done there. Again, only applies if we don't have to go back to school. Only applies if we go back to school. If it's in-person learning, I want the paperwork, and I want it to look nice. If it's going to be online, then a PDF Word document will be more than enough. All right. So from there, the verbal pitch. That would be the other part of it, right? So turning in your project. Now, students, and I'll just read this, right? So students will present both an elevator pitch and the full pitch with the visual presentation. The elevator pitch will be given by the game designer or the group leader or the team leader for each group. The following the elevator pitch, each member of the group will explain 3 to 4 aspects of the video game from the full pitch checklist above, as if they were, okay, so basically what I'm saying there is group leader is going to give the elevator pitch, then you're going to give the full pitch. The full pitch will be with every member in the group, starting off with, I guess, the group leader, sort of presenting, sort of giving another mini elevator pitch at the beginning. And then you'd go through making sure that you've hit everything that I was looking for on the full pitch checklist, which is up above. Now, remember, this is sales, and you need to dress the part. So when we do our online presentation, if it's going to be online, if you have a camera, turn your camera on. You need to be in a suit. Okay? Tie, button up, look nice. Now, the reason why I say this is because a lot of us don't know how to do this. Okay? There's some of us that have never had to go work a sales job before in their life. I had to wear a tie for 15 years of my life every time I went to work. Tie, button-up shirt, didn't matter, it was 120 degrees outside. Sometimes they even made me wear a jacket. I got rid of the jacket, and then it was just the tie, and then we got a new boss, and he said, you don't have to wear the tie, and I was so happy, because then all I had to do was wear a button down. But I had to dress. I had to look the part. And the reason why I'm saying this is because, and here's my little thing, right? I wouldn't buy a hot dog from a hobo. I wouldn't do it. They look dirty. Their clothes looks dirty. Probably the food's contaminated. Not giving me a lot of confidence that I'm not going to get sick from that food that I'm buying from the hobo, right? So when you buy hot dogs off of a hot dog vendor, what do they got? They got their little getup, right? They have their little head thing that keeps food or hair from going in, you know, their little scarf or whatever, and it looks presentable. You feel like I might not get sick if I eat this, right? And the same thing if you walk into a bank. If I saw somebody in shorts, in a metal T-shirt with a mohawk, I don't know if I'd want to leave my money in that bank. So because this is sales and because you're giving a pitch for a product, you don't need to be 100% like looking like a banker, but as close as you can to what you would see if you walked into a bank, right? What do the ladies look like? What do the gents look like? Button-down shirt, polo, slacks, nice shoes, no running shoes, no. And I'm not saying go out and go buy clothes. I think everybody should have at least their Sunday clothes, right? I was invited to a family birthday party, and so I'm going to go looking this way instead of that. You know, so whatever it is, that is your. And I've had some students that didn't have anything like that, and they borrowed clothes from a relative or something like that. You only have to wear it for one day, right? But what it's going to do is it's going to train you to look in the mirror, look at yourself, see if you look presentable, see if like somebody would give you money, because ultimately that's the goal of this. You're going into a development deal company, and you're going, I need $100,000 investment. I need a $50,000 investment. And they're going to look at you and go, I don't know if I'm going to get my money back if I give it to this person, right? So as much as possible, try to make yourself look presentable. Now, if it happens to be online, all you got to do is dress from the waist up. Nobody's going to see your shoes. If we're in person, I need the whole thing. Belt, shoes, shirt. I don't think we have any females in this group, so, you know, blouse, button down, skirts that go around or below the knee, you know, something that you would see in a bank, or pantsuit if you're a female. Now, the other thing that I also say is if you can dress yourself up with like little knickknacks, right? Maybe you have a nice watch. Maybe you have an interesting pair of shoes. Maybe you have something, and a bow tie. I don't know. Something that sort of sets yourself apart, that maybe, because think about this, I'd have lots of times where I inherited a Rolex watch when my father passed away, and I wore that watch when I was working at the jewelry store, and I would have customers say, wow, that's a nice watch. boom, all of a sudden we're in a conversation. I have an opportunity to sell something to them, right? And the same thing might happen here. Maybe you're a socks guy. You have cool socks, right? And that's one of your things. You've been collecting socks, or maybe you do suspenders. Maybe you do watches. Maybe, whatever that collectible thing is, a nice pin is always a great talking point. So, sometimes, because this is a visual thing, right? They see that you have a nice pin. They're like, oh, wow, that means, he didn't just pick up the first pin. They're thinking about business. Oh, that sucks. But something like that. So you would wear an interesting stick-out piece, and then maybe, if it's a pin, you'd wave it around, or you'd wear it in your jacket pocket where it's noticeable, you know what I mean? Or the watch, you'd pull your sleeve up or something so that it shows off when you're giving your presentation, because sometimes you can start a conversation that way that makes them, oh, I didn't know you had a Rolex. I have a Rolex, blah, 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 and now you're part of the club, right? Go ahead.
So do I get to wear my cowboy hat then?
If you think that that's going to help sell your product, if you're making a game that has to deal with cowboys, I would definitely Western myself up. Because remember, you don't want to
have to do with cowboys. What if
well, I mean, if it's your style and you want to do something and you think that, again, it's sales. So if you think that if I was walking into a game studio in India where they maybe don't wear cowboy hats and it's not as big a thing there, and I wear one, it could go either way. Either they look at me and they go, oh, Western, guy, or cowboy dude, and they have like, I don't know, because it's also how you present. How you, because you have to think about it. They don't see cowboy dudes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't have Western bars where they go to go see people dressed up in American Tex-Mex Western wear. I'm
to
sure
be
it's
fair,
unusual.
we're in Houston, so even though we're in Texas, it's not very common even here.
Exactly.
Occasionally, I get some weird looks. I'm just like, bro, I like my hat. Come on now.
Yeah, and I've worn a cowboy hat a couple of times, and yes, you get the same thing. You get a lot of weird looks.
As your group leader, I would allow it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Now, if you were to go to Brenham, or if you go to one of the smaller cities outside of the Houston area, yeah, or if you know specifically that, for example, did anybody watch that? I'm sure you guys have seen lots of commercials, but there was a Razor commercial where a guy comes in, he sits down, he sees all the applicants, they all look like much better than him, and then he notices the pictures of the people that work for the company, and they're all bald. And so he goes to the store, he buys himself a razor, he cuts his hair off, and then he comes back right as the person's coming out, right? And the person's bald and looks at him who's now bald because he used to have a full set of hair, right? And this was the commercial, it was for a razor, right? But the whole idea was that you look the way your customer looks. I would, depending on who the customer was that I was working with, sort of become familiar. So like if they came in with a Texas accent, I'd let my draw out a little bit, right? I'd elongate my words a little bit. I'd sound like I was from Texas a little bit more, right? Because I'm hearing that and I'm trying to make them sound comfortable. So if the Texas hat or the cowboy hat is going to be a distraction, and you're going to make people feel uncomfortable because they don't wear it, or they think a certain thing when they see a cowboy hat or somebody wearing a cowboy hat, just like you might not wear a do-rag into a meeting, right? For that same, it's putting you in a box, it's putting you in a group, and there's certain expectations that I might have, cultural expectations that I might have based on the way that you're dressed. And that's why I say, think banker, right? What would you see if you walked into a bank? Because they need to be as neutral as possible. They want your money, and they want and they want to look respectable, but they also don't want to draw attention to certain things. They want you to feel calm in your decision to leave money with them. But anyways, so those would be my caveats for that. So formal dress is expected. If it's online, waist up. If it's going to be in person, because we're finally in a classroom, it'll be the whole thing from head to toe. Now, as far as the grading for this project goes, it's 35 points for the written proposal. So 35 points of the 100 points that you're going to earn from this project, or percentage-wise, let's say percentage of points. 35% of that is going to come from the written proposal. No, it doesn't mean you need a business suit. What I need you to do is find a nice button down, or find a polo, or find something that looks like. Who else is in your okay? So no, you don't need to look business casual. For anybody that knows what that means, business casual: slacks, normal shoes, not broken, not beat up, not running shoes, not sandals. A polo, polo khakis. I think most people have
something like
polo.
that.
Yeah, that's business casual. That's what you'd see if you walked into a bank. Business casual
Or
most
to
of the
a
time.
Walmart, you see us wearing polos, or seeing us wearing just
Yeah.
nice
Yeah,
shirts.
what would look like a uniform almost, right?
With
like
the
a,
vest over it.
Yeah. Now, if you have a tie and you have a button down and you want to go the full way, you want to go full business formal, you can do that. And then as a group, maybe as a group, you decide, hey, can everybody do business formal? Sure, let's all go business formal. You know what I mean? Or business casual, but definitely not casual, and definitely not Hawaiian shirt day. Unless of course, your game is Hawaiian
Based in
themed.
Hawaii? Yeah.
Yeah. Then you could probably use that as a, hey, we're this group, and now your shirts become a prop, right? So written proposal will be 35% of the grade. The elevator pitch will be 10. Only one person is giving the elevator pitch, so that could be the difference between 100 and a 90 for your group. So that means you want to work with your elevator pitch person and make sure that they've got a pretty good elevator pitch. So it's not just that person working on the elevator pitch, right? They're going to perform it in front of you guys a couple of times. They might come up with the base documentation or what they're going to say for it, and then everybody helps make sure that becomes a good thing, right? So listen to them give their elevator pitch a couple of times and help them with it. Full pitch and visual presentation will be 30% of your grade. That will be done by everybody. So the visual presentation, again, would be a PowerPoint slide, a Hawaiian shirt if you've done a Hawaiian-themed video game, anything that would help sell your product, and the full pitch will be everybody in the group giving their part of what they're doing for the project. I am the group leader. I'm doing this. We've decided on this. This is our communication methods. This is how we're getting everything to work, whatever. And here's my programmer. These are the codes we're going to use. Here's the level person. These are what the levels are going to look like, right? So everybody's going to be up there for 2 minutes, roughly. So here's what the grading rubric looks like, right? So written proposal, things I'll be looking for. Does it look professional? Like I said, don't just staple it together and give me white notebook paper with your actual scribbles on it. Make it look like a brochure or something. Hits on all the points listed above. So again, go back into the documentation, look at the things that I'm looking for that needs to be there. From there, the elevator pitch, under 2 minutes, hits all the points listed above. Given with energy and confidence, like you've rehearsed it. From there, full pitch and visual presentation between 10 to 15 minutes in length. Everyone on your team contributes to the pitch. If not, points come off. So one person can't just do everything. You have to share the responsibility on that. Everyone on the team contributes to the pitch. There is a visual component for the presentation. So your PowerPoint slide hits on all points listed above for full pitch. So again, go up there, read what I've left. Formal dress, business formal, or I'll write in there business casual. So business formal or business casual. What does that mean? Button-down shirt, polo shirt, button-down, slacks, khakis, some type of non-sandal or non-athletic footwear, and then any kind of little trinket that you might add that might make, set you apart, make you look cool, or it might be a talking point that might get the person who you're giving the presentation to pay more interest in. As far as communication, 1 page describing what type of file management, file sharing, and communication protocols the group is using. This will be part of your written documentation, so add that to it. and then from there, overall impression. Was the presentation cohesive? Did it seem like you guys had rehearsed it, that everybody knew what they were doing, everybody knew their part? You would lead into whoever the next person was, that person would lead into the next person. Did it get me excited about playing your game, which is ultimately what it's all about? Do I want to give you money? Do I want to invest my company's business time, reputation in putting your product out there? Do I think I have a market for that product? Have you made that clear? Do I have a pretty good understanding of what your project is? Now, at the end of your presentation, I will ask you questions, so be prepared for those, sort of like the questions that I left up there, but there may be some more specific based on information that you gave during the presentation. So, that is the general overview of what Project One is. It's a PowerPoint presentation, a visual, you going up there as a group, giving your presentation, the full pitch, and then the individual elevator pitch that only one member in your group needs to do, but is worth 10% of the overall grade. So, any questions about the information that I just give you? There will be more specifics that come in, and then as a group, now what I would do is, get everybody on the same page, figure out what communications you're going to use, try to set up your first meeting, and then try to figure out where everybody is, what kind of games they like. Be friendly with the people in your group and see if if you guys can. Maybe everybody likes sports games. Maybe everybody likes medieval style melee games. Maybe everybody likes first person shooters with futuristic concepts in them. Maybe somebody wants to do a game in space. Maybe you guys like the Star Wars franchise or the Star Trek franchise or something like that.
Or the Marvel gaming universe.
You can create things with superheroes. The only thing is that, I'm not going to give you any melee code because I don't have any to give you. I have the first person shooter code. So, and I've seen people do a lot of very interesting things with that. I've seen people take the guns away. I've seen other people, because eventually that last lab, which is a bonus lab, what that lab is for is to help you work on one of your key features. So I give you a list of labs that I've created that could be used as key features. Like, remember the staff object that I talked about earlier that might have been a key feature where it was doing the fire and the ice? Well, I actually, that comes from one of my groups, actually my first year teaching this class, that said, hey, we want to do that. I was like, oh, fun. I don't know how to do that. So let me figure out how to make a flame torch, a flamethrower kind of feel. And I went, found a video tutorial on there, created that, and then go, oh, the only thing that's different between the flamethrower and an ice thrower, let's say, would be the graphics that the system is using to create the flames, the particle system for the flames. So instead of red-orange stuff, I went and found like snowflake material type stuff, and instead of it looking, now it looks cool. It looks like a blizzard coming out of the staff, right? Or out of the thing, whatever the weapon system is. I put it, for my example, I just put it at the end of the gun and had it work with the ball in the middle, right? So because left clicking is movement, right? You'd use that with your WASD on your mouse with your left click, right? You look up, look down. So I couldn't use that. I think what I did was I used right click for fire and then pushing down on the roller ball in the middle, right? Which is basically your third click on a standard mouse. That did the fire. So I assigned it to the gun. So you could still shoot, but you could also hold shift and then it would become a fire thrower, a flamethrower, the torch, or the ice thrower. But anyways, so okay, so that's the Project One. What I would expect you to do is break up into your groups, figure out your communication system, start talking about what was discussed here, and figure out what kind of a game as a group you might be interested in creating or making. So any questions about that?
All right, so I have one question, Professor.
Yes, sir.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, so we're going to present our presentation in front of top notch. I mean, not top notch, but known game developers?
No, what we're doing is we're doing a mock version of this, and I am the game developer. So you guys are the groups that have been invited into this project. Remember at the very beginning of the documentation, I wrote a project plot summary?
Yeah.
So that's sort of the setup for what we're doing. Yes, the idea is to get you thinking about all the different things that you would need if you were going to present this to a developer. But I'm the developer in the classroom, and instead of getting money, you're getting points on your grade.
Well, that's still great.
Yeah. So that's the the better you do in your grade, the more successful your project and your presentation was, because you got everything that I was looking for. And a lot of this too is there's a lot of stuff in that last document that I read you guys, right? It took almost an hour to read through, right? And to explain all those concepts. But this is something that happens. For example, I was part of a group that if we were trying to, or the group that I was working with was trying to get their game on the Sony platform, on the PlayStation. And to get it on that platform, PlayStation or the Sony group needed you to have a business address. That was one of the things that was in their documentation. If you're going to be a developer for Sony, you need to have a physical business address that we can send you mail. Like snail mail, real mail. We don't want anybody working fly-by-night operations out of their house. So you could not use a residential. That was one of the things. You had to read everything. And if you didn't read everything and make sure you had hit all the bullet points, they wouldn't even talk to you. They wouldn't see you as somebody that was serious enough to do business with. So, yes, there's a lot of stuff I just gave you, but it's also because those people are expecting certain things that are norms in the game industry and really in business in general. Because that's what they are, a game company, and it does sound fun to do and work at, but you also have business people that are doing the business side of keeping the business going, and they're looking for certain things, and so we're trying to introduce that to you in this class, as well as also learning how to put a game together. Because when you guys work on projects later in other classes or in the real world, you're going to be doing a lot of this stuff online. You're going to be meeting in person or online with money people, these people, those people, and you have to look a certain way, act a certain way, conduct yourself in a manner conducive to business, to getting people to agree to give you money or extend a deadline or, believe in you.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Cool. All right. So what we'll do is we'll jump from this. What I'm going to do is I do have presentations and other things that I will be showing you with this. This is just sort of get your feet wet, get your groups together, figure out what everybody's schedule is, make sure everybody's got the software on their computer, help each other out and create your communications, and then sort of start thinking about what ideas you think are cool and what you want your game to sort of look like or feel like. Or I had one group leader last time who was hardcore into Castlevania, and he was like, we're making a vampire game, I don't care. And I thought it was great. He was like, yep, no, that's what we're going to do. And everybody in his group was like, all right, fine, I guess we're making a vampire game. And then I had another group that came up with the Pac-Man idea, and it was sort of like everybody sort of, in that group, they decided they wanted to create a retro style game, but bring it into, futurize it, sort of. So they all decided to, what's your favorite 8-bit video game from like the 80s or the 90s, and they made a list. Everybody would do like their top 3. And then as a group, they came together and Pac-Man came up in like 3 or 4 of them, of the group. And they're like, okay, well, I guess everybody likes Pac-Man, so let's use that as our template, and then we'll futurize it. We'll make it more like a anybody play Ghost and Ghouls or Super R-Type or any of those 2D platformers?
Ghost and Goblins.
Ghost and Goblins.
Sega Genesis was the best.
Yeah, so you want to make a modern version of something like that. So now you have a template, you have a concept, you know, you're looking for castles, you're looking for graveyards, you're looking for skeletons, you're looking for ghosts, you're looking for a knight with a suit, you're looking for swords as far as static meshes, material packs, and things that you're going to download. And that's the other thing is once you've gotten together with your group and you decided what kind of game, well, then you guys can start looking for materials, and that can start this week if you create a meeting or put a meeting down for this week, and then everybody comes together, you talk about it, and you can, not that you know what to do immediately right away, but you can start looking for stuff, which helps you, because a lot of this is, remember, I got a month to show you how to make video games, I got a month to turn you guys into a group and decide on something, and then you got a month to finish it. So we don't have a lot of time.
That's about as good a pace as a lot of games to start, like the get up to speed. A lot of companies, that's how they move.
Yeah, well, it's because that you have to get a group of people to act like a group and then create a project, and so there's certain norms that come into all this sort of stuff. Communications, idea sharing, creating of the product. How files are going to be transferred, things like that. So, yay. All right, so let's jump from this to here. Let me erase that. Well, I can just leave that up there. That's not important. Okay, so hit save and apply. Apply and save. There we go. And let's close this window. All right, so where we left off when we look at, and actually let me go back to this screen and let's pull up. That, and let's go back to Canvas and let's look up the video tutorials for what's left in 3, just so we know where we are. So when we stopped last week on Wednesday, we had understanding modes and creating landscapes, sculpting the landscape, right? I went through all the different tools, the ramp tool, how to push the depression in, how to pull it back out, how to create the mountains on the side so your character doesn't fall off. We created the multi-layer brush tool, right? So that was the snow, rock, sand, dirt, grass layer that we then used to paint our landscape with. Video link 3 was how to make it look less cheesy and less blocky, right? To make it look more like a realistic landscape. The brush editing tool, that was what we used. We turned a geometry, a square, into that triangle, right? And then we placed that triangle into the roof of the house. So we shaped a geometry by moving its vertice points and then shaping it into the angle or to the shape that we needed, right? So that's the and we'll actually come back to that tool today if we get looks like we only got 30 minutes of class left. Then the foliage tool was how to make the forest, right? And remember I said that was a very dangerous tool because if you don't get the numbers right, you could throw too many trees or too many bushes out there, and if you don't have a lot of RAM on your computer, that would kill a lot of that RAM because it's trying to make all those objects and making them move. So you got to be very careful with the foliage tool. But basically what it does is it allows us to be able to build a forest using a paintbrush. So we bring in all the different meshes, we put that into the tool, we give the tool ideas, you know, how many, how close, how big, what type of rotation, and then there's that. Now, what I'd like to hit today in the last 30 minutes is how to create a hole through our landscape, so then that way if we had the side of a mountain, we could cut a hole in to be able to put in a cave. Or if we were to create a tunnel system in our game, you know, where somebody would fall through the landscape down to a layer below the surface layer, how would we be able to do that? So let's see. What I've done here, I think this is the level where I was working on it, and basically, you know what, let's go back to Lab 2 map. We'll hit save on that, and I believe this is where we were when we left. Yep. So there's,
We're still seeing the screen for the.
oh, sorry, thanks.
Yeah.
There it is. Okay, so this is the one for 2. We did our little fountain over here with our particle systems for the water. We created the brush tool, right, to create that little triangle shape from a standard geometry. And now my programmer or my level designer has told me, hey, we need to create a tunnel system, so then that way your character can fall into the tunnel and then that will take them to level 2, right? So I go, oh, okay, great. I need to make a tunnel. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to get rid of some of these boxes. Come from my tunnel over here. And for the tunnel, I'm going to go to geometries and place actors. So I'm going to grab a cylinder and I'm going to place that on the floor. So we're dealing with a geometry and it's more or less a round shape. If we look at the details panel here on the side, we'll see that we have a z-axis. Now that z-axis is up or down. So we maybe need to extend that, let's say, to 1500. So it's a tall tube. Now I'm going to want to go underneath the floor to make sure that that actually pops through. And it does. So I'm just going to reposition that to where just the top of it, you know, because my character has to be able to jump over the edge and fall into the tube. And if it's too high up, they're not going to be able to do that. So that's the first thing. Now from here, the other thing would be there is the outer radius. So that's how wide the tube is. Remember that our character is 200 by 50. So we should actually be able to fall through that because the 50 is the width of the character. So at 200 we're probably okay. If you wanted to, you could push play and just verify that your character seems like they would be able to fall through that. So if I jumped in, I feel like my character would definitely be able to fall through that. Okay, so I'm going to hit escape, go back to my tube, right? The other thing also that I could do with this is that I could change the angularness of this. So right now this thing has sides of 8. If I wanted to actually make it feel more like a tube, I could, you know, do 50. So now I have 50 points going all the way around the outside, and this looks way less hexagonal than it does round, right? Now you could probably, now remember, by doing this you're adding more vertices, more sides, more information. So if you've got a computer that can't handle the fast RAM, you probably don't want this round of a tunnel, right? So 8 looked very much like a stop sign. If we jump to 10, that's a little bit better. It looks less like a stop sign. If we go to 20, we get more or less something that's round. It still has flat sides on it, but it appears round, right? It looks round. So I would probably keep it to there. Now the other thing we also want to do with this is we want to hit the hollow button. What that will do is it will actually make the inside, just like it did with the box, right? Where it put the inside surfaces in there. We now have a tunnel. So let me turn my camera speed down. And if I was to zoom in, we can see that we do have a tunnel that goes all the way to the bottom of the game. And then if I go back up, our character would be able to go. Now, we do have 2 problems. First of all, we have this layer. Remember that layer, the layer that the geometry that we did in Lab 1, that is sort of the game area that we've been building everything else on. That is still a geometry. So because it's still a geometry, I can punch a hole through it. And this is why you shouldn't have turned that into a static mesh just yet. So we will be able to punch through that. The other problem will be the landscape. Unfortunately, you cannot punch a hole through the landscape, and the reason for that is because it's a planar object. If I go underneath, I can look right through it because there is no material on the bottom side of the landscape, because that would make it very expensive, right, for memory. So it's only showing me a surface on one side. This is very similar to if we were to go to a basic and grab a plane and put that in there and put that up. Let's say about right here. We'll push play. And if I go over to, where did I put the plane? There it is. See, underneath it, we can't see up, but if we were up high enough, we'd be able to see that side. So it's an object that only has one visible side. So, and the geometry is in there, but we need to actually be able to cut a hole through that. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my landscape. What that does is it brings it up in my details panel, and there is the material right here, right? So it's a landscape material 2. From here, I can just double click on it. What that's going to do is it's going to open up the blueprint for the multi-brush tool. Remember, we did this the other day together as a class. And what we want to do is we want to add a invisibility mask, or a what's called a visibility mask, to this. Right now, opacity, I don't know if you can read that very well, but opacity, the opacity mask actually is blank. It's not a node. It's not available to be connected to. It's there, but because of what we're doing with our landscape material, it's not visible. So what we need to do with this to make it work is if we click if we click if we click any one of these boxes, what that does is it opens up the details panel for that box, right? So if we're looking at the tool, the multi-brush tool that we made the other day, this was the original box, right? Remember, we said make a new material, and then we opened up the blueprint, and this was the box that we had, and then we started building all the other boxes from this. So with that original box selected, the one that says landscape underscore material 1 or whatever you named it, you're going to see over in the details panel that there is a physical materials, then there is materials, and underneath that materials tab, you're going to see material domain surface, and right now the blending mode is opaque. So that means translucent or opaque. So if something is translucent, it allows light to go through. If something is opaque, it doesn't allow light to go through. It blocks the light from traveling through it. So something that is opaque has a thickness, has a surface, it blocks light from going through. So what we want to do is we want to click on that, and we want to change the blend mode to masked. Now when we do that, we see that this material now is showing us this option now has become available, because we've said, hey, we need light to travel through this thing, so instead of it being an opaque, we want it to work as a mask. So we're going to drop some other object on top of this, and that's going to affect the layer underneath, right? So for anybody that's used Photoshop before, blend modes, layer modes, this is sort of that same idea. How is the layer above going to deal with the layer below? And the layer above is actually going to be a opacity mask. So what I'm going to do here, or a visibility mask, I'm going to type in the word visible, and you're going to see that the option that I get is landscape visibility mask. I'm going to select that, and that's going to give me this bubble right here. And it's just going to say, it's going to be a green bubble that says, not very exciting, landscape visibility mask. Now I'm going to attach that to my opacity mask on my landscape material, and then I'm going to hit apply and save. Now, depending on how big your layers are, or how much stuff you have there, and how much RAM, your compiler shaders will come on, because it has to add this layer to your material. So once that's finished, we'll wait for it here a second longer, because it's actually going pretty fast. Okay, so now it's done. I'm going to hit save. So remember, apply to apply this, save to make sure that it's saved. And then we can close this box, and nothing looks different on our map, right? We don't really see anything different yet. But what I can do now that I couldn't do before, we'll go back to modes, we'll go back to landscape, and remember that we had an option up there that was sculpt and one that said visibility, and I said we would come back to this later. Well, here we are, we're coming back to this, and now we have, if I have this selected, I can now cut a hole through my landscape. So I'm going to make this window a little bit bigger. So you do have some on the left hand side here underneath landscape. Once you've picked visibility, you will have certain brush settings, like how big is the brush, does it have a steep fall off, or is there sort of like a soft edge that it's going to put into the hole. And then we don't need to mess with those other two, but watch this. Now, just like when we painted our surface a second ago, right, it turned into those checkerboards, and now we actually have a hole that goes through our map. Now we can't see it on the bottom side because remember that you can only see information on one side, but we now do have a hole in our landscape. And if I was to take, let me make my camera a little bit faster, and let's go grab my first person character. Oops, got to get out of this tool. So let me go back to select, grab my first person character. Let's move them. Uh-oh, where'd they go? I think I grabbed the thing in the middle. Okay, so I'm gonna put them right out there by the hole, and let's flip them around. And I'm gonna push play. So I'm walking around on this surface, right? Because the landscape material is there. I'm gonna walk up to the hole, and sure enough, my character fell through the hole, right? So it is not just visual, but there's literally a hole, like you cut a hole into the landscape. So how can we use this? So we're going to make a slightly smaller hole here where the well could be. It could be a sewer system. It could be ancient entrance to a blah blah blah, whatever you want to make it up. But for us, it's going to be an abandoned well, right? It's going to be an abandoned well. Now, the other thing too that we can do when we're in the tool for making this is that we can also cover this back up, so we can undo what we just did, right? So I'm going to go back to modes. I'm going to go back to landscape. I should still be on, let's see, sculpt visibility tool, because that's the last tool I was on. And if I hold shift, I can add the landscape back. So it's not that that's a permanent thing, right? So left click once to make the hole, shift left click to fill the hole back in. Now if my character was to walk over that, the landscape would be back, everything would be right with the world, right? So let's go figure out how big. Now the other thing I also probably want to do is I want to make the walls to this thing a little bit thicker. So I'm actually going to go back to select. I'm going to select the cylinder. And notice that when we made it hollow, we got a interior wall rotation as well as an outerior wall. So the outside wall is what's on the outside of the tube. The inside one is there. So this is a difference of 10 points. So not a very thick wall. Let's make this, let's say 150. That's a pretty thick wall. Need to drink some water. Oh. Sorry, too much caffeine, not enough water. All right, so probably not 150. Let's make this, let's say 175. That looks thick enough to be, you know, let's say we were in a castle and this was done with rocks or something like that, right? Looks like a pretty thick wall. Wall enough for a well. Wall enough for a well, or well enough for a wall. Anyways, so we have that now. Now, I would go ahead and cut the hole out and make it a subtractive, and what we would do there is we would actually make a duplicate of this. We'd make it just a little bit smaller. We would throw the hollow back off, and then we would cut the hole. Now the only problem with that is that right now, if we were to do that, we would just fall through the level and die, because we would eventually fall into this white area down at the bottom. So what we want to do is we want to create a conduit, right? Like some kind of a box that captures that different pipes would go into. And I'm sure that a lot of you guys have gone through a construction site and you've seen the square bricks that have the holes in them, the round circles, and then the round concrete things that are eventually going to be the tubes, and that they're going to feed into those square holes, right? So that's what we're going to end up doing with this guy. But there's an order to how you can make the cutouts as far as the subtractives are concerned. If I was to cut out the subtractive here to be able to get it through this right here, we would see that the ground would go away, but we would actually still have the landscape. And when we make this one down here, we'd have to make another one. So what I'm going to do before I cut out the hole for the landscape is that I'm actually going to add the square box down here at the bottom. And obviously that's way too small. The tube has to go into that box. So with that box selected, and I think I have a skin on it. It looks like it put a skin on it. Or some type of a material, that's fine. So we're going to make this thing, so we select it, we go into its details panel, we scroll down until we find its brush settings, which is, oh, I grabbed a basic, that's why it's all weird looking. I want to grab a geometry, I'm sorry. Geometry box, drop that in there. Now we should have brush settings. There we go. Based on the size of the tube being 200 for the outer rim, then I'm probably going to want to make this box a little bit bigger than the tube. So I'm going to go, let's say, 500 by 500 by, let's say, characters 200 tall, so let's make this 400 deep, right? So now we have a box that tube could end up going into. I'm going to grab that box, put it down here. Now, what ends up happening inevitably is that we need to sort of center this, right? So I can sit there and try to eyeball it like this, but I'm never going to get it exactly right. What I want to do, and what I'm going to introduce to you guys right now, are different visual modes, right? So up here at the top, we have perspective mode. If I click on perspective, I then get top view, bottom view, left, right, front, and back. So I'm going to go to left first, and I'm going to zoom out. And that is going to show me my entire world from the left-hand side. So now I'm going to go to where my tubes were. And in this particular view, and I'm using my arrow keys to scroll in and scroll out. So there must be, this must be where the river area comes in. So instead of it being in left, let me go to right. Ah, now I can see the tube, right? And I can see how much space I have on this side versus how much space I have on that side. And if I wanted to get real up and close and personal, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's on the 5th box. Go to the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this side, the cylinder is more to the left than it is to the right. So I can either grab the cylinder, which I don't want to do. I'm going to grab the bottom box. And when you're in left view or right view or up or down, it's restricting your movements to only 2 axes, right? So I can either drag this up or I can drag it to the right or to the left. So we'll drag it a little bit more that way, and then use my scroll on my mouse to find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're on the 6th box, and then I'm going to go to the other side and do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can maybe move it just a little bit over to the edge, but that's pretty close, right, to where the center is. Now from here, I'm going to go from right to one of the either front or back. Front doesn't do a good job because we have that depression from the landscape. So I'm going to go to back, and from the back one I can actually see what I'm working on.
Oh my gosh.
So now I can assign this the same thing. I can find where the middle of this is.
Upside down.
Okay, I can't see your screen and I can hear what you're saying. So if you have a question, you can wait until after class. I only got 10 minutes left. All right, so now if I go from this back to perspective, now that is more or less in the middle of where I want it to be. Yes? Okay, so now that we have the box underneath and the tube, the only thing I need to do to the box is make it hollow so that the character can actually fall into it. So I'm going to make it hollow, and I can see that there's that. Now I still have the blockage here because the tube has not been cut, or the hole has not been cut into the square. And then I still need to do that up here. So now we're going to do this all in one swoop, right? So I'm going to select the cylinder. Remember that if we want to make a duplicate in this software, it's Control W, or I could right click on the object, go to Edit, Duplicate, right? So now I've made another one. Should theoretically be in exactly the same spot, and it's exactly the same size. So with this one, I don't need it to be hollow because we need a tube to be cut out, and I need it to be just a little bit thinner than the inside wall. Remember that the inside wall on the other one I think was 150. So let's go to the outside radius of this square and make it 150. So now we can see our outside wall and the inside subtractive that we're about to add. But it's not quite going all the way to the edge. So now I'm just going to use my brush tool to inch it there. So let me go 170, that's close. 175, that's pretty close, right? So from here, I'm going to now make this a subtractive, and minus the landscape, we now have a hole that goes all the way through to the bottom square, right? That bottom geometry that we created. Okay? So that works really well. And now all we need to do is cut that landscape out, right? So we already set up the brush the way we needed to. All we need to do now is go back to Modes, Landscape, Sculpt, Visibility. That is way too big for that hole, right? So I'm going to go back to my brush size, knock it down a little bit. Still a bit too big. What am I at? 300. Let's make this 200, because I think that's about the right size for that. And now I'm going to go ahead and just left click. Now, it mostly cut that out. We can now see all the way down to the bottom of our tube. I do want to clean up those sides, right? See how I've got a little piece here and another little piece there. So I'm going to make my brush even smaller. And I'm just going to go in, and I might need to make it a little bit bigger than 20. Let's make it 30. There we go. And you more or less have to hit in the middle of where that thing is going to be. So maybe 30 is not big enough. Let's go to 40. There we go. And there we go. And I think I have a little piece. Nope, I'm pretty sure I got it. All right, so now we test, right? So I'm going to push, well, I think I need to put my character back inside the wall. So to do that, of course, I need to go back into selection mode so I can select my character. So Modes, Select, select my character, put them back into the game board. Okay, now I'm going to push play. So I'm starting next to this. And now I should fall down the hole. But I died. Oh no, I died. I didn't make it all the way to the bottom. So, remember I told you that if you fall off the edge, there is a natural kill volume that the game has, that if your character falls below that point, it just auto kills your character because it figures that you fell off the map. In this case, we have a subterranean part of our level that is now below the, we need them to get to something that's below the kill ratio, or the kill zone. So to do this, we need to go to Settings. We need to go to World Settings, right? And if we look in World Settings, notice that here's our Details panel. Next to it is World Settings. And I'm going to just start going down until I see World. And inside World, there's an option called Kill Z, Kill Zone. So if my character goes below 1,000 units from what is the 0 axis of the, I guess the Z, right? So this is the Z axis, Kill Z, right? So Z for up and down. What I'm going to do here now is I'm going to make this more than the 1,000, the negative 1,000. So I'm going to make this, let's say, negative 10,000. So now the kill zone, or the kill Z, is my character needs to fall below 10,000 before it dies, right? Before it's auto-killed by the game. So with that there, I'm going to go ahead and hit save. So it saves that as the information. And now I can push play again. And I'm pretty sure that my tunnel doesn't go more than 10,000. So I should be able to reach the bottom of the tunnel without dying. There we go. So now we're at the bottom of the tunnel system. And if we had more time, what I would do is we would make another one of these tunnels, and we would put it off to the sides, so then that way you can connect, maybe this is an underground passage, so your character needs to move some boxes out of the way so that they can fall down into the tube, and then there's another long tube that takes them to some other point in the game, and then there's a staircase or some type of stair system for them to be able to go back up to the top level. Or maybe there's a maze of tunnels down here, and you have to find which way you need to go to, because you have a key that you got from up above, right? So you get the key that opens up something, or it allows you to move the boxes out of the way to reveal the tunnel. Then you fall into the tunnel. Then you go through the maze of tunnels until you find the door or the gate or the whatever is at the end of one of the tunnels, and then you put a trigger box down there so that when you get to the end, you would, and if you have the key, then it would send you to the next level, right? So we'll pick up from that on, so since we only have 3 minutes in class left, break up into your groups.
Professor.
Yeah, I'm just going to finish up the class and then I'll take questions.
Okay.
So I need you to break up into your groups, figure out who's in your group, make sure that you guys have a communication protocol as far as like everybody being able to meet together, Zoom, Google Hangouts, Discord, whatever it's going to be. Get everybody on the same page, get them to the same meeting, and have your first meeting. Figure out what the roles of the people are, minus your group leader, because I know who those are. And then from there, decide artist, programmer, level designer, and then start talking about what kind of game you guys like. I really like playing this kind of game. Obviously, the game is going to be a first-person shooter. That's what we're working with. So try to keep it there. We don't have all the details yet of what we can do. But, at least start talking about what kind of games you like. Maybe you can discuss how you're going to come up with the concept for your game, or what would be a cool concept. And then what we'll do on Monday's class when we come back in next week is I will show you examples of what pitch documents look like. I will show you videos and PowerPoint presentations that will break down certain aspects of it, like the SWOT analysis, the competitive analysis, and what the roles are. So basically the lectures that we were supposed to get to today that just took us too long because I wanted to cover more Project 3 and finish it, but we didn't. We got the visibility mask, so you'll see that. We'll build a cave later on Monday. Hopefully we can finish Lab 3 on Monday. So we'll finish Lab 3 on Monday, and we'll spend, again, half the class talking about the project, going over PowerPoint tutorials, and giving you more information and examples of what that's going to look like. And then we'll spend the other half of the class finishing up Level 3 or Lab 3, and then hopefully getting into lighting, which is the last lab for world building before we go into creating enemy characters. So that's the end of class. Break up into your groups, or try to, send information to your groups, figure out a time and date that you guys can meet. Try to have a meeting before next Monday's class. Write down any problems that you encountered while you were trying to break up into groups, or and then, report those to me, or tell me, hey, we can't do this, or we can't get this working, and we'll try to address that at the beginning of class. Otherwise, we're breaking up into our groups, figuring out our roles, figuring out what kind of game we want, what kind of communication systems we're going to use, and then from there finishing Lab 1s, 2, and 3 if you have not finished those yet, and then on Monday finishing up and wrapping up Lab 3 and hopefully getting into Lab 4, which is lighting. Alright, so that's the end of the class. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Try to get a lot of work done. Try to break up into your groups. And for those that had individual questions, I will start taking those now, but I need to run to the little boys' room, and give me about 2 minutes and I'll be right back, okay? So stay here if you have questions. I'm going to run to the bathroom, 2 minutes, and I'll be right back, okay?
Okay.
Right.
I need group 1. Caesar isn't here, but James joined the where did Caesar go?
Not sure
Caesar's
if he was here at all. There's only 15 people in this Zoom since it started. He may have been one of the people not in it.
Ah, boy.
Oh dear.
We might have people that leave the class. That sucks. James, keep sending the link to the group Discord. That way we can start discussing stuff.
Yeah, I sorry for being in the wrong group. So I just
No, I don't care about that. I was
Sorry.
hoping it's just easier for everyone to keep it all there. all that
Yeah,
stuff.
plus
you
if
know?
we're going to be sending some of the files in the Discord, we can't like be sending it to the other groups because then they might steal them all.
Yeah, exactly. And I would
Yeah.
steal too.
That's
No,
true
I'm joking.
too.
Obviously, I'm joking. But yeah, so I hope Caesar is still doing this class because I
It's
noticed
going to
we
be more
have
work
less.
for all of us if she's not.
Yeah, I noticed some people are not here this week that were last week.
Yeah, I think some people are dropping out maybe because they don't have a computer that can run the program well enough or what.
Yeah.
Or probably they're very well new to Unreal Engine and they still have some difficulties. Just trying to get the hang of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I see Caesar. I sent an email out, so I already so if you James, if you get into my Discord, I already set up a whole Discord for this, and I even put up some resources and notes. I already, this way we can all discuss our ideas properly, but we'll see.
I found the Discord on the chat. Yes, I already put that in my Google Chrome on it. But
Or you could, you could download that for your phone if you need to. I don't know if you're familiar with Discord. I know some people aren't, so.
Yeah, I was wondering if you don't have it or something, and that's why you haven't joined.
a little bit of this Discord, right?
Yeah. So yeah, download the app or put it on your computer. It's free, and we'll create the best game in this class.
I don't think I'm gonna like that.
I heard that.
Yeah.
I'll hold y'all accountable to that. If it's not the best game, it's got to get a B. No,
Hey,
all right. I'm just kidding.
Professor, somebody mentioned that Caesar did not make it to class today. I don't know if he's been in class. He's one of my group members.
Right. So what ends up happening if you have a member that's in default, right? Because this can happen in the real world. You have a group of people, you get them together, everything gets exciting, and then somebody has a baby, somebody gets married, somebody has to go on a honeymoon, and then that just throws them off of the team, and they're not really a member anymore, although every once in a while they still show up for meetings or something, right? So if you have a disheveled member, your responsibilities will still be the same. The group will still have to create a project, but I actually I've had the whole experience. I've had a whole team go away, like they just stopped. They just all dropped out at different times. I've had whole teams make it all the way through, because life happens. You have no idea. Somebody could be in an accident tomorrow, and all of a sudden you've lost another team member, right? So the point would be is you're still responsible for your level individually, right? That's what you're getting graded on. So if you started with 4 members, that would have been a game with 4 levels. If you end up with 2 members, now you have a game with 2 levels. If you end up with 3 members, you have a game with 3 levels. If you end up with 1 member, if you're the sole survivor of your group, still got to do all the work, but you're doing it by yourself. Now, at some point, if that happens, if I get a member that ends up with 1 person on their team, I will give them the option at a specific point in time when I become aware of it, to be able to join another team. Now, if that happens, everything you worked on, unless it's a special feature or something like that, you now have to mold it to your new team member. So it sounds like a blessing. Sounds like, oh, now I don't have to do it all by myself. But now you got to start a whole new level. And you have to you're joining a whole new team, and you're now the 3rd wheel or the 5th wheel on a team, as opposed to being one of the core members. Now, if it ends up that you're the single member on your team, some leniency will come your way. I will understand, hey, certain parts of the project suffered, like maybe the artwork or the programming suffered a little bit, but I want to see that you mostly got all the concepts, right? That you were able to complete and finish your game. Monumental task if you're by yourself, easier if you have 2, way easier if you have 4. Although big groups, you get the opposite problem where, you have so much talent, everybody feels like, well, I don't have to do anything. You ever seen 3 people sitting around and 1 person doing the work? That's what happens with bigger teams. So you'll inevitably get somebody, and I will say, I'm one of those worst peoples for that kind of a group because I would be the one person working, but then I'm gonna take all credit for it. I'll be like, no, nobody else in my group did anything. I did it all.
That sounds fair to me.
You know what I mean? And
I
I'll-
had to do that very thing in my previous class because we had a big group and 4 of our people didn't participate out of our 8.
Yeah,
I just
and-
threw them under the bus. There's only so much you can carry. You can't carry those people forever.
No, you can't. And what it does is it lets those people know, hey, I guess that doesn't fly. I guess I have to do my work next time because somebody's going to call me out on it. And the other thing I will also do is I will do it all myself. Every time I've been put into a group, I've always made my own version of the project myself. Then I would contribute to the group from my project, right? Oh, you can use this, you can use that. Oh, you want me to do this? Fine, already done it. You know what I mean? And so then that way, when they came to me, all my stuff was done. And if my group failed, I could go to my teacher and go, here's the whole project. And they look at me like, oh my God, you did the whole thing yourself? I'm like, yeah. Why does that seem so weird? You know what I mean?
So when you're saying it's a monumental task, you're kind of giving yourself a pat on the back.
No, what I'm saying is that I don't allow other members in my group to spoil my grade because I don't want to fail, right? So I'm sort of like Kirk, who goes into the software and changes it to where he wins, right? Y'all don't know enough Star Trek.
Yeah, I get that
Okay,
reference.
I get
so,
that reference.
yeah.
Thank God.
The what was it? The Shikashi Maru or whatever experiment.
Yeah, like you
test.
can't pass it, but he
You-
cheated,
yeah,
so he could pass it.
So he could pass, and he was the only one in Starfleet that actually passed the test because everybody else took the test normally. And then I think they made it more difficult for people to get in. But anyways, I'm that guy. I will look at a problem, go, okay, this is what the group wants me to do. This is what I have. This is how much time I have. I'll work on my project for them, but then I'm also going to make my own version of the project. And that's the only way I can. And I'm terrible at that. And so I'll do a lot of extra work. But I'm not saying that that's something you should do. I'm just saying that that's the way I approach group projects because I have been screwed by groups or by other group members. Anyways, so individual questions. I don't have a lot of time because I do have a student at 5 o'clock at Guitar Center, and I need to run an errand before I go. So I can be here till about 3:30. So if there are technical issues, questions about the project, or anything that I can answer, I'd be happy to answer that now.
Hamed said he has a question. I have a question after him.
Sure. So is it Hamid?
Hamed, yes.
Okay. Yes, sir. What can I do for you?
Yeah, I still have kind of difficulty with my Unreal Engine.
Okay. What's going on?
Yeah, it's just that my camera setting of my first person player,
Yeah.
I kind of have it facing like a little bit downward, but I tried to make it to look a little bit upward. So I kind of have trouble with that. I was just still trying to create another set of staircases because I wanted to create a tutorial parkour area for the
Okay.
first person game.
Okay. Okay, so you're saying that when you push play and you move your character around, that the character looks like they're always looking at the floor? With you
Yeah.
you not touching the button, or you want to be able to shift your head up and then shift down to look?
I'll sit down to look after I press play.
Okay.
I thought I paused the game. That's what it is.
So if your first person character if the camera in your first person character is in the position where it's supposed to be, so let me just move here real quick. Oh, wrong mouse, wrong keyboard. Okay. So see my first person player, right? See how the camera is perpendicular to the floor, right? It's not facing down, it's not facing up, it's looking straight across, right? Does your
Yes.
character look this way?
Yeah, can I look this way? Yes.
Okay, so that's exactly what your character looks like. Now, if you push play, you can look left, you can look right, and you can use your WASD keys to move around. Now, if I want to
and
look
can fire a Nerf
up,
ball.
can you look up?
Yes.
And you can look down.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm not quite understanding the problem then. Because you said you needed to be able to look down or look up.
Yeah. As in look down, look up. I meant afterwards, not during the gameplay.
Oh, okay. So you can't you want to be able to do that here in editor mode?
Yes.
Okay. So if I right click and I move physically the mouse down towards the bottom of my hand, that moves me down. If I right click and drag up, like moving the mouse away from me or away from my hand, like north, then I would be looking up. And as long as I'm holding the right key, any direction that I move, that I start moving my mouse in that direction, that's the direction that my visual is going to go.
Okay.
So I'm able to do that by holding the left click or the left mouse, I'm sorry, holding the right mouse button and literally just, if I move around in a circle, if I move my mouse in a circle, I get this. If I go the other way, I get that. Now, if you're talking about moving, like moving from one location to the other, it would be holding the right arrow key and then using your WASD to move in that direction. So we're using the right click. Now, if I right click and move my mouse, then I can move my position in a circle. So if I'm sitting right above this and I go like that, see I'm doing that really fast, so it's throwing me off.
Rotation.
But yeah, but you can rotate around an object like that. So that you're moving two angles at the same time as you physically move your camera. So diagonally this, but I'm still moving to the left. Now I'm doing that with my WASD, but that only happens when I'm right clicking. Okay.
I didn't devote much of my time to be on this Unreal Engine because I had to be on work and stuff, and I'm struggling to earn some money to get an apartment.
No problem. I understand everybody's got their stuff. Now, a lot of this is in Lab 1, though. When if you were to, and let me go back over here. If you were to go,
watching the vids.
Yeah. So maybe I didn't explain myself.
To binge watch.
Gotcha. But that information would actually be right here. Would be in the in 1C X, Y, and Z tool, location, rotation, and scale. So I do explain that there. Okay, cool. Another question, or we can move on to the next person.
I have one regarding about my group because some of us are not on Discord.
Okay.
Because I know most of myself and my other member of my group we're on it. We're on Discord. Myself and Christian.
Right. So that's going to be on them to download Discord and make it work for them. If two of you guys are already on Discord, and that seems to be the Discord's actually not a bad communication method for stuff like this. Just get with your other group members. They will have to download, and with it, I mean, I'm sure you already know. You would just go literally to here, type in Discord, wrong keyboard, and I don't want my wireless receiver to drop. So yeah, you type in Discord, and I didn't spell that right.
It's DISCORD.
So there it is right there. So there's Discord official site. You click on it. If you don't have a
You're
Discord,
showing the engine.
Oh, sorry. So
I know how to do it, but someone else.
yeah. You just go to there. You type in Discord. You get them to create their account. You say open Discord. In my case, it'd say open. In somebody else's case, it might say create account. And there it is for Windows. So there's multiple ways you can have it as an app on your computer. You can also just go straight to the discord.com page and enter it like a website. You can get in there in the same way. Unfortunately, for people that aren't familiar with this software, I mean, you're gonna have to get used to something. Because you're gonna have to talk to other people. Yeah, you're gonna have to get used to something. So
because I still go to Discord. I'm just trying to get used to. Okay, let me just create a group. Create a group page for my Twitch stream and all, so that way people can somewhat know that I'm live on Twitch.
Yeah, you can. And here's what I've done. I mean, like for me, this is a social media. Discord for me is a social media. I've got games that I've got guild members. That's one of the things I've done on Discord. I've used it for projects. So it's kind of like a multifaceted multimedia tool. And so it allows me, again, photograph and or file transfer, plus being able to talk to people in real time through video
Yes.
or through audio
Video,
conferencing.
voice.
Right. So because of that, it's one of the tools that can be used. And so that's what a lot of people don't realize is that, yeah, you're going to learn how to make a game, but you're also going to need to learn a lot more than just the Unreal software.
Yeah.
And it
Just
will
like- we
take,
just have to learn how to communicate.
yeah, because this is common communication protocol. You have to be able to talk to your group members somehow, be able to send information and figure stuff out.
Yes.
So yeah, if you're not familiar with Discord, it'll take maybe about a couple of weeks just to get used to it, figure out all the different things that you can do with it. You can also watch video tutorials how to use Discord. So YouTube and YouTube. Go here, say click there, and then type in how to use Discord. Boom. How to use Discord. That's the page we were just looking at. Right? So easy Discord tutorial, the ultimate Discord tutorial, how to Discord in however many milliseconds that is. I guess that's 226 seconds, minutes. How to use Discord. So here's the thing is, let's say you're having a group member that's having a difficult time with Discord and you don't know how to explain it to them. What you can do is you could do a YouTube search, type in how to use Discord, watch a couple of videos, see if the situation that they're discussing or they're saying, hey, I'm having a problem with this, and then you watch a video tutorial as a group leader, right? Because you want to make sure your group's all on the same page, and you send them the link to the video and you say, hey, I don't know how to explain it real well, but why don't you watch these videos? And I was able to do it with watching these videos. And that would be an easy way of, I mean, that's a lot of what I do, right? I mean, that's what this class basically is I come on here, we have a group meeting, I give you guys a bunch of stuff to do, and then I make sure that everybody's on the same page.
Yes, that's what it is.
And I give you guys video tutorials, and that way you don't have to ask me everything, because there might be a video tutorial that already explains it, so I'm saving myself time. Now, in my case, I made my own video tutorials. But I've been able to use them from class to class to class, so they were worth it. Was so worth it.
Yeah.
I gave up almost 2 months of my life making video tutorials every day for 2 months. But yeah, so this would be a great way for to introduce somebody to Discord or to send them a video, so that way they can get more familiar with it without you having to spend your own breath doing it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Do you remember what my issue was last class?
Were you not able to get Unreal on your computer?
No, it was not being able, or my static meshes from PAX loading in Bling.
Oh, right. Okay. And I was thinking that was going to be... Okay, so what I did was I put up
I actually found out what the problem was.
Oh,
I'm just not sure how to solve it.
All right. So what's the problem?
For some reason, when the packs downloaded in, they downloaded with the textures not on the materials that are on the static meshes. So there's literally just nothing loading in, and that's why there's just the blank material.
Interesting. So you're just getting the checkerboard from the like geometry look as a default thing. Huh.
And I'm just not sure why they loaded in with all the textures not in the materials, because I've tried to do it myself, manually putting in the textures because it's provided, but I didn't know which order they're supposed to go in, which blank they're meant to be in. So
right. So generally what'll happen is that the texture will have one because let's say you have something like a chair, right? So the seat of the chair looks slightly different than the pegs that would be coming down from the back part of the chair, right? Because the wood grain would be going in different directions. So that material, when you actually look at it, looks like a flat version of that chair with all the different sides on it. You know, like when you for us who played with GI Joes when we were growing up, right? Remember that you would get like that little plastic wire thing that certain pieces would be in, right?
Yeah.
And you would wiggle them, and that would break the plastic, the soft plastic on the sides, and then you put them on your GI Joe. Well, that's sort of the same thing. You're looking at a single two-dimensional object material, which is a JPEG or whatever it's been saved as, and then they take that. There's certain information on there, and then that wraps it around the object, right?
Yeah.
That's why when you stretch the object in one dimension and not in all three, when you're scaling, it stretches the JPEG.
Well, the static mesh I'm specifically talking about was a truck, and it had multiple different textures for the outside and multiple for the inside.
Right.
So
what was the RAM on your computer? It was like
is like the bare minimum.
Yeah. So if the materials actually weren't there, and the way that you could check something like that, right? So let me scooch back over to this screen. So first, let's go back to content.
Well,
Let me go.
my actual question is there a reason that for some reason they downloaded without the textures being actually in the materials?
So when you when you add something to the level, by default, when I drag something in, like it comes in with that static mesh. It comes in with the checkerboard static mesh. Then
It sounded like an animal dying.
Me?
No, in my background.
Oh, there's some. That sounded like somebody laughing. But
It was cries of pain.
Oh, don't.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Sounds intriguing, but we got to move on. But okay, so anytime I bring in a static mesh, it's going to come in without the material on there. The game puts the material on there because the game has to deal with light and has to deal with shadows and has to figure out how that material is going to look with what you've given it in the environment that you're in, right? So it throws it on as you add it. Now, in your case with the low RAM, I think what's happening is that and that's what I was going to show you, was if the materials are actually there, then you can find them. But if the static mesh comes in and the materials aren't there, then we won't be able to find that. That means that you have a different problem. That means that in the download process, they weren't downloaded with the pack. So when I open up, let's say, my office furniture pack, right? I see that I have blueprints, maps, materials, meshes, and textures. So if I go into the mesh, this is just a JPEG image that shows what it's going to look like if it was put out on the floor. So I'm going to find one that might have, let's say, multiple layers, like let's say this thing right here, like the cupboard, and I'm going to drop that on the floor. Now, mine came in with the skin already on because either I've already dropped this out on the floor somewhere else inside the house structure, or let's see, that one came in with, or my RAM has already attached everything that it needs to on it. Right? Now, if you go to this and you go into your materials layer and you don't see any of these things, what could be happening is that you have thrown a filter on, and so thus nothing in that folder is a particle system, so you don't see it. Or, and we'll jump out of that, or you have something written in the filter bar, like there, like and then nothing in the name has an L and a K in it, or not an L with a K right next to it, so it's filtering through the list and it says no results are shown for your filter. Or literally this folder didn't download, and if that's the case, you're going to have to re-download your pack. So if you don't see the materials, you may need to go back to Unreal, the Epic Games launcher, and re-download that material. Maybe you downloaded a part of it and then you closed your computer, or maybe you were downloading it overnight. And remember I said that thing happens at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning where something goes through the internet and it kind of knocks everybody that's downloading stuff or watching movies or anything like that off, because it wants to kind of clear up the internet for the next morning for people going to school and work, which I have seen. I've seen that actually happen. Usually happens at 4.
Can I screen share what I'm talking about?
Sure. Let me make screen sharing available. Oops, wrong mouse. And okay, go ahead.
Okay. Can you see it?
I'm moving this to a screen closer to me. All right. Ow. Why did this thing goof off? All right. Okay. So yeah, I see what you're looking at. Go ahead.
So when I pull in this car, it loads in blank, right?
Yeah.
And I go back here to the materials, the pickup, and I have all the materials here. I actually already clicked on this one. And when I open the material, it goes blank because nothing's in here.
It's still loading those things, I think.
I've waited like 20 minutes for it to load in before it doesn't work.
So it says there you are actually getting a error message down there at the bottom that says SMS no texture sample missing input texture. So go back into your content window down at the bottom, kind of grab that window, move it up out of the way a little bit, and go back one folder. So yeah, you have a tree there. Go back one more folder. So there is a materials folder right there. Click on the materials folder. Click on the pickup.
This is where I was.
Oh, sorry. Go back one folder. Go back one more.
The textures folder,
Textures, yeah. Go into textures. And click on pickup. Okay, looks like the textures are there also. Now, the other thing you could do is so the truck is selected, has got the outline on it. Go over to the details panel, scroll down to where you would see it says static mesh, then it says materials.
Yeah.
Okay. There's element 1, element 2, element 3. Go back to the folder that actually had your materials in it for the pickup. So that should be material 1, material 2, material 3, material 4. So grab the first one, the body pickup, and drag that over into element 1 and see if it'll take it. So
it does. It's just blank because there's no textures to make it in here.
Okay.
The thing I was saying is when I go here to put textures, pickup, it's labeled here like interior and normal, but I'm just not sure like what goes where.
Well, let's see. Go to the very top of your click on this and make it bigger. Go to the X next to it. There you go. Click on that. All right. Now scroll up to the top so I can see the very first one. Zoom in a bit. So there you have one called base color. The next one's called metallic. The next one's called roughness. The next one's called the opacity mask, which is probably your glass. Then you have a normal, and then you have an ambient. Okay. And how many of these do we have? Count the texture boxes.
Sorry.
Here? Okay. Yeah.
There's 4.
Zoom out a little bit. So there's 4. How many textures do we have for the vehicle? Quite a bit, huh?
13. But they're all for the different parts of it.
Right.
Like these 4 are specifically for the interior part. These are normal. I'm not exactly sure where that goes.
Well, the purple ones are for the shading. Remember we did that with the brush. So there's certain ones that go on there as the painting for the object, and then the other one that would be how it's dealing with light. Yeah, I don't have an easy answer for you unless this car pack came made for a specific version of software and this car pack doesn't work with the version. What version of the software are you in? Is it 4.27, 4.26?
4.26.
4.26. Go back to go back to your library. So click on Marketplace up there or open up your Epic Games launcher. I think we can get to it from Marketplace.
For some reason, that doesn't work for me, clicking on Marketplace.
Oh, could also be your browser. What browser are you using?
Chrome.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I don't have problems with Chrome. Hit no thanks. Project files not associated.
Oh, sorry.
So let's go to Marketplace.
Well, this vehicle pack is actually the same one you used in one of your videos.
No, I know, but the last time I used it was in 4.25, and that's why I want to see. So I guess go to library. I'm sorry, because that'll be where you actually have the car stuff there, and we're gonna hover over. So scroll down until you get to where the car pack is.
It's right here.
Yep. Click. See the eye that's over the image. Well, I guess yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. Go.
It says 4.21 to 2.6.
And what version are you using?
2.6. Well, I'm using 2.6.2. Is that the problem?
When it says 4.26, usually they don't put an extra decimal point on there. So anything that's 4.26, whether it's 4.26 point something, would normally work. The other thing you can also do is, since you've already got the pack downloaded, do you have any other version of the software? Do you have 4.25 or 4.2? I guess 4.25.
I do not. This is the only version I have.
Got it. Okay, so that would be my workaround. Since I have multiple computers with multiple versions of the software, I would take that pack, put it into another version of the software, like let's say 4.25, and see if it works. Because if it does work there and it doesn't work in 4.26, then the problem is with the pack. And the fact that there's something in 4.26 that's stopping the pack. Is this the only pack that you've had that problem with?
This is the only pack. I uninstalled all my packs because I thought that might be the problem before and reinstalled them, but this is the only one I've tested so far.
Okay. And you were experiencing the same problem with all your packs?
Yes. Except the one pack that was only materials. The materials would work fine in it, but if it's a pack with static meshes that comes with materials, nothing works.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't have an immediate answer for you there. The only thing I can think of was that we did get an error message when you opened up something saying, like go ahead and close the Epic Games Launcher, go ahead and close Unreal, and try to open up Unreal one more time, and let's see if we get that error message again.
I get an error message saying I have low storage, but I have an external hard drive, so I don't think that's the problem. The external hard drive has 900 gigabytes. This is the rent computer.
Okay, hold on. So it says low storage warning. And see the following drive locations have limited free space. See binaries, free space. So you have less than a gig available on your C drive, is what it looks like. Yeah. So, what ends up happening with computers, especially with solid state drives, is that when you bring something in and you have low RAM, what it does is it uses the C drive as temporary storage while it builds whatever it needs to with your slow RAM.
Yeah, I know. That's why I used a different computer. It's slower, but it has just more space in general.
Yeah.
So I used that one to download all the packs.
Right. Well, so you use that to download the packs and then you transfer the packs over?
I used it to download the packs onto my external hard drive.
And then, okay. So
that's where all my stuff is saved.
Right. So this is my point, is you may need to take your project, make a copy of it, and put it on your external hard drive. Because
that's where it's saved right now.
Right. So that's, no, because it's saying that right now it's opening it up on the C drive, program files, Epic Games. And these are the, let me see, C drive, users, something, and then documents, and then the other one is the engine. So two things that I would work on and see if I can get this to work. So take the project, move it onto the D drive or the external hard drive, try to open it from there. If you're still experiencing the same problem, what you need to do is go back to your C drive and delete stuff that you're not using. So at that point, you may have other games that are loaded on this computer. You'll have to erase them. You might have other software that's loaded on this computer. You might need to erase it. Do me a favor. Go down to the bottom of your screen and hit the thing that looks like a folder. Okay.
These are personal files. Don't look.
No. What I want to do is I want to go down to this PC. Click on that.
Go to properties.
Just double click on it and open it up. So go to the C drive. Double click on the C drive. And what we want to do, okay, like let's say that downloads folder, right? Go right click on that downloads folder.
Oh, sorry.
Right click on it, go to properties. So this folder right now is not holding a lot of information. So you've been cleaning up your downloads folder. Let's go to your documents folder. So see documents over there on the left-hand side underneath. Yep, documents. Click on it. All right, so you have an Unreal's project, you have scanned documents, you have facts. I'm assuming that those scanned documents, facts, not very heavy files. So you don't
None
have a
of
lot
these
of stuff. Yeah, it doesn't. You're not. These. I'm looking at places where you would normally have just stuff that accumulates. That maybe you have places that you can throw stuff away. Go into your downloads. Well, I think we did downloads already, didn't we?
Yes,
So
we did.
documents, downloads.
Do I need to keep this on even if I already
No.
have the thing
No,
installed?
because that's the installer. So if you want to, you could probably delete the installer.
Okay, I'm gonna do it.
And let's see how much space that clears up. And you may need to go to your recycling bin up in the top of your desktop and right click and say delete, because I think it just throws it in there. There's a bunch of stuff. So, wow,
Yeah.
that's a lot. That's also Minecraft. It's taking up a lot of space.
Yeah, that was an experiment. It didn't work.
Oh, that's okay. But look at how much space we're going to clear up. Let's hope that number gets really big. Okay, well,
2
it cleared off
gigabytes.
2 gigs. Okay, but that's 2 gigs you didn't have before.
Yes. Well, can I show you something?
Sure.
Like, I don't even have my game folder on here. That's actually one of the things that's deleting because I didn't want to save it on here because of how little space it has. I do
Sure.
have it, everything here. This isn't supposed to be here, but I have my file saved here, so it is on the external hard drive.
Right. So what you're saying is you put the project Lab 2 onto your external hard drive. But what's
Yeah,
happening
this is
is
the only place it is, and on another computer as backup. It's not on this computer by itself at all.
all right. So you're saying is you have 2 computers that you can play with, and the other computer, let's say, has more RAM on it, or you're still dealing with an 8 gig RAM.
And now
unit?
it's the same. We've just had it for a while, so it's slowed down in general. So I got a laptop from the library because it's just a little faster.
Got it. Yeah. I know the cards when they come in, they do have, like you said, they have a lot of materials and stuff like that. You've already tried downloading the and show me where you actually have the packs.
Okay.
So that should be in the content folder for that. There should be.
I should some of these are packs, but I mainly have them in the marketplace.
Show me which one. Show me which one has the cars in it.
That is this one.
Okay. So here we're in the actual root directory of the projects itself. Let's go into materials. Let's go to pickup. So those assets are there. Yeah, that's super weird. What I would do is see if somebody else in your group can download the same pack that you did, and then have them do a screen capture of where those texture materials, which one it actually falls into, and then see if you can't hand put them back in.
Are you still here, Fernando?
I am. I'm going to try that right now. Which pack did you? I kind of was paying attention, but I was also buying something on Amazon.
Aha.
The vehicle variety pack.
Yeah. Should be a free
Vehicle
pack.
variety. Yeah, I have 4.25, so let me give this a shot real quick.
Okay. And that should give you a little bit, because a lot of the times when you put a mesh in, it's using whatever's available in your try opening the project now.
It's a shame the school doesn't have the ability to VM, because then
Yeah.
you could use the lab computers. It seems like something that should be easy to do.
Aha, so now it says following location drives have limited free space. It is recommended that your free space to avoid issues such as crashes and data losses due to files not being written or saved, that it should be at least that much. So we're getting a different error message, and now it's only in the binaries. It looks like there's enough free space available for whatever it was going to do with the other 2 things, and now we just have this one. So again, what was the total amount of RAM that you had, or the total amount of space that you had on that C drive?
I think it was around 100.
So it's
116.
116. I would go into everything, go into pictures, go into documents, go into desktop, go into music, erase anything that you can. Try to see if you can't drop it down to a usable level. Maybe you can keep your projects on the C drive, but there's now enough available hard drive space on the, keep your project on the external because it's going to use that extra space on the C drive to hold stuff. And it won't do it to the D drive because there's a possibility that the D drive can be disconnected because it's an external. Plus, I think by default, all those folders that it's looking for are actually in the C drive under the installation where it was installed, like the binaries and things like that. So my guess is that if you have, I would try for at least 5 gigs of free space. See if you can dwindle it down to about 5 gigs, give it another go. Now, if that still doesn't work, what you can do, did you see my FYIs?
Yeah, making the or the materials have a lower resolution, so it takes up less space.
Yeah, there's that one, and then there's also Lab 3 on that one that does do increased streaming texture pools for computers with low GPU or RAM available. So I think that definitely fits your category. And if we go and we click there, one of the things that I do is I show you how to figure out what your graphics card is.
What the graphics card is, yeah. I tried to look it up, but it doesn't have a specific model to look up, so.
Oh, and that might be, and I've seen this a couple of times with computers that are specifically manufactured. The RAM, I actually have 2 mini Macs where the RAM itself is embedded into the motherboard, and a lot of the times the graphics cards are embedded that way. But you may be able to maybe you can look up your model computer, like look up the model of the computer that you're using, and see if they don't have a specs page that tells you how much RAM or how much things are being used for RAM, and then see if there's a way that you can increase because basically all you have to do is figure out how much is it 500 gigs or is it 500 megabytes, is it 1,000 megabytes, is it 2,000 megabytes, is it a half a gig, a 2 gig RAM chip that's in there running graphics. Most even base level laptops should have anywhere from a half a gig to a gig. Once you have that number, then you can set your streaming pool.
I just did it because I didn't know, so I just decided to try, and I put it to 1 gig towards Unreal, and it didn't change anything.
Then you may need to go with a smaller size. You might have less RAM available. And the streaming pool also is how many, because every time I bring in an image, that image is so many megabytes. And what this is doing is it's saying you need so much space in your RAM to hold these images in so that when the camera turns around, it can generate that for you. And in your case, you actually need them to drop in. Yeah, that's really weird. I've never seen it where the textures don't show up. I'll do a little bit of research, see if I can't mimic something. I'll try to add the vehicle pack to my 4.26 and 4.27 and see if I have any similar issues. But you're saying it was running across multiple packs, so I think it's something local to your computer.
Yeah, I tried to run it on my other one, but it's so bad that it just crashed whenever I would open Unreal. Unreal would crash, not the computer, so I couldn't even test it.
Got it. Yeah, let me play around with that. Let me look and see if there's any articles or any Reddit posts that specifically deal with low RAM and materials not coming in or missing, because that's the weird thing, is it says it's missing.
Yeah.
Which is just strange. The only thing that I can think of is, and you've already done it, would be to remove all the packs, re-download them, make sure that it gets all the way through the download, and that it doesn't pause or stop anywhere. And the other thing,
the only thing that popped up when it was downloading was saying this material is in another pack, because I was downloading some from the same creator. So I just said, yeah, remove it from that pack, put it in this pack, because it's the same stuff anyways. But those weren't the vehicle pack anyways.
Got it. Yeah, I don't have an immediate answer. I'll have to do a little bit more research, but definitely see if you can't free up some more space. And the other thing that you can also do is it's a PC laptop, because I can see it's a PC laptop. What I would do is look to see, because you can also buy an internal, like you can flip that C drive out, put a different one in there. You'll have to put the operating system back on, which is...
Well, this is the rental computer. I'm not
Oh,
sure.
you can't do... Yeah, okay, never mind. You can't do that.
Well, I was hoping with the emergency funding coming, maybe it will be enough to where I can get an actual computer.
Yeah, I hope I'm on that list too. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'm not actually sure if it's for faculty and students, but maybe you should look into it too.
My previous professor said it was available for everyone, but it's first come, first served. So I would sign up for that ASAP.
Got it.
I did it at 12:04 a.m. the day it was released. So if it's first come, first serve, I should be getting it.
Fantastic. Yeah, I didn't know that this was something offered by HCC. I thought you guys were talking about the
FAFSA.
Well, no, the money that was coming from the government, like the tax refunds and stuff like that, where they were sending everybody like $1,000 check or $2,000 check or whatever it was.
Sent out an email like a week ago saying they got 59 million from government or something, and they're going to disperse it as an emergency fund.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, too bad.
But I don't know how much they're actually giving out per person, obviously. So.
I don't know. Yeah, it is actually the first time I heard of that. But yeah, no, that is it. 59 million that HCC has, or that's the fund
HCC.
HCC was granted $59 million to disperse to students and teachers for laptops and stuff like this.
Yeah. Well,
Nice.
it has like 2 questions, and one of them's what you really need it for. One of the options is technology.
Got it. Okay.
But it's for anything really.
Well, I think what they're doing is they're creating a filter, and then I'm sure that they have certain dollar amounts for this, certain dollars amounts for that they've allocated, and you know, that's probably why they're asking those questions, so that it doesn't all get spent on one thing. I guess I don't know. I guess they're trying to show the diversity of the stuff that they were able to do with whatever the funds were, because I'm sure there's accountability on those funds. They're not just going to give us $59 million and not want a seat.
I'm not. I'm assuming
they're
they're going
that money
to
to get the apartment. I need to find a way to apply for that.
It's on the website.
Yeah.
Go to My Eagle, your My Eagle login, and you'll find it there.
If you guys want to, I mean, you can create, because you guys can send an email to the whole class, right? So you go into the email system, you create a link, and then you can send it to the whole class. I could maybe, and then, or send it to me, and then I'll post it onto Canvas.
Put it in the chat. Oh, actually, no, I did not. Hold on. I sent it to James by accident. I don't know why. I did that.
Just send it to me,
I was
because
really confused about that thing, because tell me, should I just have it deposited to my bank mobile
I'm gonna stop
account?
sharing, by the way, because I think my problem's just like doomed.
No,
I'm trying
I'm gonna
have
do
it
some
into
research.
my personal account.
Yeah, I don't know how that ends up working. I'm sure that what they're going to ask you is that you need to give them some type of a bank, like, routing number.
Oh yeah, the other question is, do you want it refunded to the bank mobile account to give to all students, or if you want it refunded to your designated refund account? So like mine's a Chase account that I already set up to where my refund for the financial aid in general is going to that. So I just had to make the emergency fund go to that too.
Yeah, they're gonna need
to
a
go to that, because I really need it for the apartment, man. Because already found one that costs like $592.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's money out there, so a lot of this stuff, especially when you're dealing with grants, is they want to know what the money's going to be spent for, who they gave it to, because they have to create accountability for where that money went. So that's probably where the questions and all that are, and then they need some type of a routing number. I know that at work at Guitar Center, I'm given a credit card through Guitar Center that my money actually gets deposited into, so it goes straight to a checking card. So I have an account with them, and the thing that they love about that, and the reason why businesses are doing this, especially if they're big enough and they can set something up like that, is because while that money is being held in the account, they're earning money on interest. So if they got $59 million and they give that out to students and they put it all on cards that are from the school, or issued through the school, then while that money is sitting on account, they're collecting interest.
Oh.
Good to
That's
know.
Oh, well,
that's
I gotta
that-
head out. So
yeah, no problem.
thanks for
Actually,
trying to help.
Our
I
students
got-
are getting more money through that.
well, let's put it this way. Let's say you know when you go to the bank and you make a
Have a nice
deposit.
weekend, Young.
You too. You know when you go to the bank and you make a deposit and they say the funds won't be available for 24 hours?
Mhm.
It's just bullshit. They're keeping the numbers on their account so then that way you can't just give them the money and then spend it immediately. What happens is it stays on their books, they collect interest on it, and then the next day they make it available to you. So they make 3 cents, 4 cents, 5 cents, but if they're doing this across 1,000 people, 100,000 people, 3 cents with 100,000 people, that's what? $3,000 in interest payments you just collected. Most people are not even going to notice that 3 cents.
Wow.
Yeah, they don't care as long as they get their money tomorrow. Right?
I mean, with Walmart, I always get my money from Walmart every Tuesdays, and by the time I come to my bank, I just go.
Yeah, I mean the bank's collecting interest, and that's money that they're able to loan out. Because remember, a bank's worth is how much money they have on account, and based on that, we use a fractional reserve system. That means if they're holding $1,000, they can actually make loans for $900 or $9,000. All they have to do is hold 10% of that money in check. So they hold your $1,000, and they can now loan out $9,000 because they have your $1,000 as backup collateral. Fractional reserve banking, go look it up. It's very interesting. They can make money out of thin air.
No. Yeah, they're struggling to earn money through Twitch as well, just to earn.
Oh no! Well, the banks have been doing it for a
30
long time.
30 times my paycheck.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to be able to do that too. It's a hard gig if you can swing it. Because you have to be consistent, you have to have content all the time, and you have to be funny or entertaining to some degree.
Yeah. I mean, I tried a little bit being funny on the Sniper, Ghost Warrior.
Well, I mean,
Yes, too.
whatever your show is. I know I've watched a lot of internet shows, and people have different things that they do that makes that thing entertaining. Anyways, I do have to go. It's 4 o'clock. I have 1 hour before I have to get to my other job, and I still need to freshen up. So I'm gonna leave you guys for this afternoon. We'll see you guys again on Monday. Try to get as much as you can going. If you run into any problems, send me an email. Try to break up into your groups. Try to get your communication protocols going. And for the person with the low RAM, I'm going to see what I can do about seeing if there are, what kind of issues, and maybe try to duplicate the situation.
So if you
on
don't
my
have any
computer.
other gaming app on your computer, because if you have, I think you should just delete that.
Who are you talking to me?
I'm talking to the student that has a low RAM.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, they've already got a list of different things that they can do. We've given them the FYIs, and we've seen their problem. I know what they're experiencing now. So what we'll try to do is try to see if there's a workaround. Maybe there is some particular issue, but yeah, trying to put more space on their hard drive, or free up some space for it. But anyways, so yep, that's the end of class. I really do need to go. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Professor.
And I will see you guys. And I'll also have by Monday the
Thank you,
answer about what
Professor.
happens on October the 4th.
Wait, can you repeat that again? October
Yeah,
the
I was
4th?
going to say, remember October the 4th? I said I was going to get back with you guys and figure out if by that time we will actually be in the classroom, or whether we're going to continue as an online class. So I have to talk to my upper ups, figure out what they want me to do, and then I'll report that back to you guys. Okie dokie.
Thank you.
Y'all
James,
take care.
join our Discord. You seem to be having not understanding that.
All right, cool.
All right, look, I'm trying. Okay, I'm trying.
All right,
All right.
I'm gonna end the call. That's gonna end it for all of us. All right, see you guys later.
Later.